Chapter 185. Great Immortals, please lend me this lamp. Seeing that everyone already knew what the lamp was for, the fox demon began to plead. I promised to return it in 10 days. Please. Whose primordial spirit do you want to use this lamp to mend? Lone Moon frowned. I. The fox demon subconsciously raised his head to look at Lan Hua. His face was filled with hesitation as he looked around guiltily. Lone Moon was not in the mood to wait for her to make up stories. He conjured a spell and waved it at her. Don't! The white fox tried to stop him, but it was too late. A moment later, a seal appeared on the fox demon's pure white fur. The words Xian Han were written on it. The white fox's face turned pale. Xian Han? Who? Lone Moon turned and asked, Has anyone heard of this name? Everyone shook their heads, confused. The white fox on the ground paused. Then her eyes lit up with joy. She heaved a sigh of relief. Lan Hua, you're the oldest here. Have you heard of this name? Lone Moon turned to Lan Hua. What the hell was the oldest? This name sounds familiar. Xian Han. Xian. He thought hard for a long time, then shook his head. I can't remember. What's the point of keeping you around? You were once an emperor. Lone Moon rolled his eyes and frowned. This matter was a little difficult to handle. He could only wait until tomorrow to ask the newly appointed country monarch's son. But there's someone who should know. Lan Hua suddenly thought of something and suggested. Who? Wait a minute. I'll call him over. He rushed out like the wind. Less than 2 minutes later, he returned dragging a man dressed in blue. He said confidently, It's him. Exalted Goddess Shin, fellow immortals, long time no see. Chu Xian smiled awkwardly. Lone Moon. Shening. I Ching. Explain. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He took a deep breath and resisted the urge to punch someone. He grabbed Lan Hua and asked, Where did this person come from? Wasn't he locked up by Chen Ge? Why was he here? I just popped out tonight. Lan Hua looked aggrieved. When he returned to his room at night, this guy came. Wasn't it too late to chase them out? Fellow immortal Lone Moon, you've misunderstood. Chu Xian immediately explained. I did not escape. It was Chen Ge, that bastard. He released me on his own accord. He Chuan paid the price and promised not to be enemies with Feng Song. So the matter with the immortal execution array is over. Let bygones be bygones. Since Celestial Emperor Lan Hua had been found, he would have plenty of opportunities to repay his kindness in the future. Even if they wanted to escape, they wouldn't have come this way. He glanced at Shening, who was squatting on the ground and plucking the white fox's fur from time to time. Instinctively, he hid behind Lan Hua, his body aching. So, Lone Moon's face was still full of disdain. He turned to glare at Lan Hua. What does this have to do with you being here? Here comes another freeloader. Lan Hua subconsciously averted his gaze. Anyway, it has nothing to do with me. He came on his own. I'm here to look for Moss. Celestial Emperor, Chu Xian said in a low voice. That day in the Meru realm, there were many things I did not have time to say, so? How long do you intend to stay here? 2-3 days? Or a few months? It depended on the Celestial Emperor. Get lost. The two of them shouted together. Lan Hua. Chu Xian. Did they think the invincible sect was a shelter? Why did they all come here? It was not enough for a demon to come here. Now they had to deal with the Celestial Emperor from a hostile continent. If this went on, they would become the target of everyone. Father Nio, you're a guest. Don't mind the details. Shening stood up and patted Father Nio's shoulder. She turned to Chu Xian and asked, Did you bring immortal stones? Chu Xian paused. He did not understand what she meant, but he still took out a few bags of immortal stones from his storage bag and handed them over. I did bring a few bags. You should have said so earlier. Shen Ying's eyes lit up. So many. She hurriedly took the bags and handed them all to Lone Moon. Lone Moon's expression softened a little. Ahem, not tonight. You must leave tomorrow. On account of the accommodation fees. Chu Xian. Why did he feel like he was being robbed? Xian Han. Chu Xian, who knew about the fox demon, was shocked. Of course I know her. Isn't that Yishui? Yishui continent. Lone Moon was shocked too. Is Xian Han the name of the Yishui Celestial Emperor? That's right. Chu Xian nodded. Don't you know? Wasn't this common knowledge in the immortal world? Air. The new immortal team expressed that they really did not know. Yishui is Xian Han's territory. Chu Xian nodded and looked at the fox demon on the ground. He frowned and said, but he's a strange person. He's cold and hard to get along with. He doesn't interact with people from other continents. I've only seen him a few times. Among the 10 celestial emperors, only Chengge, that smooth talker, is on friendly terms with him. So this fox was the celestial emperor's spirit pet. Lone Moon looked down at the round little animal on the ground. No wonder it could grow to such a size. Since you're the celestial emperor's spirit pet, what's the point of stealing the spirit convening lamp? Lone Moon continued to ask. The fox demon was still curled up into a ball, with no intention of answering. If you don't tell us, we'll have to send you to the heavens beyond heavens, and ask Celestial Emperor Xian Han in person. No. The white fox panicked. Suddenly, it pounced at Lone Moon, trying to break out of the array. But it was just a little fox demon that could not even transform. How could it possibly break out of Lone Moon's array? In an instant, it was bounced back, and its body was charred by the array. The white fox was roasted black, and it was completely sprawled on the ground, unable to move. It could only let out a series of low whimpers. Lone Moon conjured a sleeping spell to make the fox demon faint. Since it was the Celestial Emperor's spirit pet, he could not hurt it too badly. No matter why it stole the lamp, he would find out once he asked Xian Han. It looks like we won't be able to get an answer anytime soon, Lone Moon instructed. Yu Hong, lock the fox demon in the array at the back of the mountain. Yes. We'll find a time to send it back to Yi. Wait. Halfway through his sentence, his expression darkened. Shening, put down the fox's claws. I told you not to eat them. Che. Che your ass. Are you from Guangdong? Wait. Not even your tail. Damn it. It looked like he had to send this fox, that could not transform away as soon as possible. Immediately. Father Niu and I Ching had gone to the heavens beyond heavens to send the fox. They were in such a hurry, because the fox demon had gotten into trouble again in the middle of the night. It wanted to escape, but it triggered the meridian protection array at the back of the mountain, and became a roasted fox. If Radish had not been nearby and fed it a few immortal herbs, it would probably have died. This fat fox was too troublesome, but it refused to say anything. To prevent it from tormenting itself to death, Lone Moon had no choice but to head to the heavens ahead of time. He did not know Celestial Emperor Iwater's personality. To prevent any accidents, he dragged I Ching along. Without the two parents around, the entire invincible sect was completely free. They stopped working and planting immortal herbs. The entire sect began to study the 101 ways to cook for the sect master. Shening was hesitating about whether to organize a cooking competition or something when the fox demon that Father Niu had taken away suddenly returned. And with a splat, it fell into the courtyard of the back hall, smashing through the roof and falling straight into the big pot that Chef did not allow anyone to touch. Shening. Everyone outside the house. So it wanted to be an ingredient? It really was a fox with a goal. Just as Shening was thinking about whether to grant it its wish, the whole fox suddenly climbed out of the pot. Its two claws hooked onto the corner of her clothes. With an anxious female voice it said, Sect Master Shen, your disciple has been taken away by a demon immortal. This was a pig demon, right? What happened? Lan Hua was the first to react. He picked up the fox demon from the ground. How did you come back? And it was alone. Where are the others? We met a demon immortal on the way. The fox demon trembled and said in a panic. They fought, and were taken away. They saw that I was also a demon, so they did not touch me. You quickly go and save them. Demon immortal. Chu Xian frowned and said disdainfully. How does Chengge manage Feng Song? Even demon immortals can come and go as they please? Shening frowned and did not speak. Instead, the fox demon said anxiously. It was not easy for me to escape and inform you. Those two demon immortals are very powerful. You'd better prepare well before you go and save them. Where were they taken? Lan Hua asked. I don't know. The fox demon shook its head. I only saw them heading south. South. Chu Xian thought about it carefully. Then they should have gone to another continent. Shen, exalted goddess, demon immortals and us immortal cultivators have never been on good terms. The elders of the sect have been taken away. We'd better hurry or else. There's no rush. Shening suddenly turned and sat down lazily on the chair. She looked down at the fox demon and said, You said that Father Nyo and Chef were both taken away by demon immortals. Yes. The fox demon nodded. I saw it with my own eyes. Hurry and go and save them before it's too late. No matter how anxious we are, we have to get to the bottom of this. Shining remained calm. Let me guess. Both of them are young emperors. The demon immortals who captured them are at least of a higher cultivation level than them. That means they are at least immortal emperors. But you might not know that they are sword immortals. Not to mention Father Nyo. Even 10 immortal emperors would not be able to take Chef away. Hearing this, the white fox shuddered. Its anxious gaze suddenly turned away in panic. That means, Shening continued, the person who captured them must be a celestial emperor, and there must be more than one. She turned to look at Chu Xian. Hey, Boss Lan's friend, how many of the celestial emperors are demon immortals? Chu Xian stiffened. What the hell was chicken oil? Still, he answered honestly. Among the 10 celestial emperors, 3 are demon immortals. Qing Zai's Biaoting, Feng Tian's Wu Pai, and Tian Zhao's Bai Ti. There are only 3. That makes things easier. Shening narrowed her eyes and smiled at the fox demon. Let me tell you one more thing. Little Biao and Little Biao are very close to Father Nyo. They could not have captured them. That leaves only the last one. The white fox subconsciously curled into a ball. The last one Bai Ti. Chu Xian reminded. Oh, we don't know this person. It doesn't make sense that they would come to capture us without any grudges. So those people could only be coming for you. She looked down at the fox demon and continued. A group of demon immortals came specially to find you. They could have captured Chef and Father Nyo, but you managed to escape. This doesn't make sense unless... Her expression darkened. You are in cahoots with them. You are a fox demon who failed to steal something and was severely injured. You did not escape in the face of danger, but came back to report. Even Radish can see that you have other motives. You just reminded us to be fully prepared before we go rescue them. The more prepared, the better. Ordinary immortal artifacts won't do. It's best to bring 1 or 2 divine artifacts. For example, the spirit convening lamp? The fox demon trembled even more violently. His entire body arched, as if he was going to rush out the next moment. Shening squatted down and leaned in close to the fox demon. She said word by word. Little animals that lie will be roasted. Fox. Everyone. Tell me what happened to the 2 of them. The fox demon did not answer. Instead, he suddenly lowered his body and turned around, trying to escape. Lan Hua, who was at the side, waved his hand and sent a wave of demonic chi towards the fox demon. The fox demon fell to the ground and began to struggle. Let me go, let me go. I'm not lying to you. They were indeed captured. I just want that lamp. I just want that lamp. But no matter how he struggled, he could not break free from the demonic chi. Instead, his pure white body was covered in bloody marks. Only then did he stop struggling. As if he had accepted his fate, he sounded like he was about to cry. Please lend me the lamp. I won't tell anyone what happened here. I'll pretend that nothing happened. If you don't believe me, you can kill me after this. I just want to borrow that lamp to save people. Boo-hoo. I beg you. What did we do? Shening frowned. What did he mean? I won't tell. Really. Tell me what happened here. Tell me. The fox demon looked up and said weakly. You are harboring demons. Shening. The sheltered Lan Hua. So this was why he refused to say why he stole the lamp last night. The point was this was a little hard to explain. Shening suddenly understood why Father Nyo was so against Lan Hua freeloading. Forget it. I'll go find the 2 of them first. Everything else could wait for Father Nyo to return. Good. The person who is harboring them stays. Lan Hua. I'm not familiar with Bai Zhao. You lead the way. Bring this little animal with you. Chu Xian. Could he ask not to leave out the last word? Calling it chicken oil was better than calling it chicken. Underscore. Chapter 186. Feng Tian, Feng Wan Palace. In the main hall, a blue-robed blackbird paced back and forth in front of the boxes filled with seeds, occasionally asking questions of the immortal officials beside him. These are the newly found immortal herb seeds. Yes, Emperor. There are a total of 375 types, 100 of each. They are all high-grade immortal seeds, specially grown on the immortal meridian. I guarantee that they will sprout within 2 days. Blackbird nodded. Have you checked them? Are you sure there are no bad seeds? I've checked them 10 times. Check them again before we leave. He frowned. We're sending them to the exalted goddess. Not a single seed can go wrong, understand? Yes, Emperor. Also change this box. The ordinary spirit sealing box can only seal immortal chi. Change it to one made of black immortal wood. Yes. Oh yes, did you deliver the immortal meridian we talked about? Add another one this time. If it sprouts but doesn't mature, it will be terrible. Yes. Oh yes, bring the immortal aura too. It will grow faster. Yes. Be careful on the way. Don't damage it. Use your immortal chi to protect it. Forget it, I'll deliver it. I don't feel at ease. Blackbird waved his hand and kept all the boxes of seeds into a jade storage box. He picked it up carefully and prepared to leave. An immortal official hurriedly ran in. Emperor Tench's emperor by requests an audience. By T. Blackbird paused. Why is he here? He even chose to deliver the seeds to the exalted goddess. Frowning, he handed the jade box to the immortal official beside him and instructed him to deliver it to the invincible sect today. He waved his hand to invite the person outside in. Emperor Blackbird. A moment later, a man dressed in a long green robe with golden embroidery walked in. His face was covered with a snow-white beard, but his voice was as loud as a bell. It's been many years. I wonder how you've been, Emperor Whitetail. Blackbird smiled courteously. What brings you to my Phoenix Palace today? Although they were both demons, the Fengtian continent was mostly made up of flying beasts, while the Tenzhou continent was mostly made up of land beasts. The relationship between the two continents could not be considered good, but it was not bad either. This was the first time Bai Ti had taken the initiative to look for him. We are both from the demon clan. It is only right that we interact more. Bai Ti smiled even more warmly. That's it. Wu Hong's expression did not change as he exposed him. Did Emperor Bai really come here just to catch up with me? Is there nothing else? Monarch Blackbird is indeed quick-witted. The smile on Bai Ti's face froze. I'm not afraid of Brother Wu laughing at me. I am here today to ask the Celestial Emperor for a favor. It's about my disobedient daughter. What's wrong? Your little princess disappeared again? Blackbird's voice was low, and there was a hint of ridicule in it. The entire Beyond Avalon knew that Bai Ti had a daughter. Bai Ti seemed to be used to it. He let out a long sigh and said, All you know is that I only have one child. She was usually pampered and spoiled, causing her to develop a stubborn temper. Of all the people she could have fallen for, she just had to fall for. Sigh, after scolding her a little, she actually said she wouldn't come back, and she really didn't. And then why didn't you go find your daughter? Why did you come to my Feng Tian? Wu Hong asked. I don't even know where she is. Monarch, you must be joking. Yesterday, I saw her in another continent. I wanted to forcefully bring her back, but he seemed to have thought of something and frowned. Unfortunately, I met 2 troublesome sword immortals. I almost fell into their trap. If not for Imperial Lord Jija's presence and the divine artifact, the divine refining bell, Jija would have died. I barely managed to take them down. He sighed again before continuing. But that child took the opportunity when I was fighting with them to run away again. I searched for her for a whole day, but I couldn't find any trace of her. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He glared fiercely at the small bell in his hand before continuing. I'm guessing that she must have been tricked by those 2 sword immortals during this period of time. She must have gone into hiding again. I heard that Monarch Wu Hong is on good terms with the monarchs of the Immortal Cultivation Continent. I wonder if you can help me ask the immortals below to help me look for her? Wu Hong nodded. This was not a big deal. But since you've already captured those 2 sword immortals, why don't you just ask them where they are? Although I've captured them, this divine refining bell only activates once every 7 days. I can't release them for questioning right now. As he spoke, he turned his hand, and a small silver bell appeared in his palm. There was a faint flicker of fire in the middle of the bell. If he had to wait for another 7 days, his daughter would have run away long ago. That's easy to solve, Wu Hong suggested. Blackbird suggested. The harpies have a heart inquisition formation that allows us to see the memories of others when they are weak. As long as we set up this array on this bell, we might be able to find out where your little princess is. That's great. Bai Ti was overjoyed. He hurriedly handed the bell over. Thank you, Monarch Wu Hong. Wu Hong took the bell. He could faintly sense the auras of 2 immortals within it. As he conjured a seal, he asked, "Oh yes, who are the sword immortals in this bell? They seem to be extraordinary to be able to compete with you." I don't know either. I've never seen them before. Oh, I heard them say that they're from some invincible sect. Clang. Wu Hong's hand trembled. He threw the small bell in his hand away. Invincible. Invincible. Invincible sect. You're freaking kidding me, Wu Hong. Bai Ti was shocked. He hurriedly caught the divine refining bell. What's wrong with you? Before he could finish speaking, he saw that Wu Hong's face had turned pale. His hands were trembling like leaves in the wind. No. He must have been listening in the wrong direction. You say that again. Where are they from? Feng Song Invincible Sect. Boom. A bolt of lightning struck Wu Hong's heart. He felt as if his entire world had been burnt to a crisp. Pooey. He felt as if he was going to vomit blood. Bai Ti. He suddenly grabbed Bai Ti's hand and said anxiously, "Listen to me. Hurry, let them go right now. Hurry. Otherwise, it'll be too late." What? Bai Ti looked confused. But this bell will take 7 days to. Then smash it. Wu Hong was about to cry. Use immortal weapons, special lightning, primordial fire. Anything will do. Hurry up and let them go. But this is a divine artifact. What the hell is a divine artifact? Who cares about it now? Oh yes, you can use a divine artifact to smash it open. Wait, I have. I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he took out a guqin and stuffed it into Bai Ti's hands. Wu Wangqin. Here. Use this to smash it. Forget it, let me do it. With that, he raised the guqin in his hands and threw it into Bai Ti's hands. Wait. Emperor Wu. That's not how you should use a guqin. Just as the guqin was about to smash down, the bell in Bai Ti's hands suddenly emitted a blinding white light. The originally palm-sized bell began to grow larger and larger. Bai Ti had no choice but to throw it to the ground. In an instant, it had grown to the height of a human. Following that, there was a cracking sound. Cracks began to appear on the silver surface of the bell. The cracks began to spread across the entire surface of the bell. In a short span of 3 seconds, the cracks had covered the entire surface of the bell. This is. Bai Ti was shocked. My divine refinement. Before he could finish speaking, there was a loud crash. The silver bell broke into pieces. In an instant, a huge amount of sword chi covered the entire sky and attacked Bai Ti. Chapter 187. Celestial Emperor Wu Hong. Invincible sect has always been on good terms with you, Feng Tian. The batch of immortal seeds you provided us was really good. Shining even specially asked us to thank you properly next time. We sincerely want to be friends with you. You're right, fellow immortal. Even that child Xian Tong misses the 2 celestial emperors and wants to visit you. This is all fate. We are all in the same realm. Since we are fated, we should cherish it, don't you think so? You're right, fellow immortal. Although Invincible Sect is not an immortal sect, we are still an immortal sect with principles. Our disciples are all kind, and not people who cause trouble. But we are not people who are afraid of trouble. You're right, fellow immortal. Celestial Emperor wants to make friends. Of course we can't say anything. But as the saying goes, cultivation is risky. We have to be careful when making friends. We can make friends that we should, but we shouldn't make friends that we shouldn't. You're right, fellow immortal. Actually, you're an Celestial Emperor. It doesn't matter if you don't have good relationships. Who can do anything to you? There's only one person who can do anything to you. Why do you have to make trouble for yourself? You're right, fellow immortal. As for that celestial emperor Bai Ti, Shening caught a fox demon that came to Invincible Sect to steal things. We found the words Exa and Han on her body and wanted to investigate. On the way there, Bai Ti didn't even ask for the reason. Instead, he attacked us and locked us in the bell. You know, our Invincible Sect can't stand people who are unreasonable. Fellow immortal, you're right. Therefore, today's matter of breaking the bell and this battle are all because we have no other choice. Don't you think so? Fellow immortal, you're right. I understand your logic, but why did you have to beat him up too? And you even hit him in the face. What happened to being reasonable? Most importantly, he didn't even dare to retaliate. Then today's matter. It's my fault. Wu Hong nodded vigorously. I didn't know the right person, and made friends blindly. Celestial Emperor is indeed a reasonable person. In that case, Lone Moon was about to cut to the chase, and talk about compensation. With a loud crash, a figure dressed in green fell into the pond beside them. It was Bai Ti, who had been beaten like a dog by I Ching. The huge sword Qi in the air stopped, and I Ching's figure landed. Then, he turned to look at Crow, who was kneeling by the side. You! Blackbird's entire body trembled. Without waiting for the other party to make a move, he immediately raised a hand and said, Fellow immortal, please wait. I understand. After he finished speaking, he quickly stood up and walked to the side of the pool. With a clean leap he fell into the pool with a splash. I Ching, who had no intention of beating him up. Lone Moon, who only wanted to blackmail Immortal Stones. It wasn't a good thing to meet teammates that were too cooperative. Tenzhou Heian Palace. Shening was about to fall asleep from waiting. I say, that chicken. Chu Xian wanted to cry but no tears came out. So his name was confirmed as Chicken? Chicken is here. Are you sure you're leading us in the right direction? Shening looked at the sky palace in front of her, which had already been demolished. Yes, exalted goddess. I'm sure that this is Heian Palace. Bai Ti lives here. Oh, but we've already waited for 3 hours. Will that white chicken really come back? It's Bai Ti. Bai Ti is not in this heavenly palace. Even Jija doesn't know where he went. That's why it's safest to wait here. Who's Jija? Exalted goddess. Chu Xian's mouth twitched. He pointed at her feet and said, The one you're stepping on is Emperor Jija of the Changnua continent. Didn't you hear from the immortal officials that Bai Ti might have gone to look for Emperor Jija of the Changnua continent? That's why you went to the neighboring continent to capture him and beat him up. Don't forget who he is just because you don't have a nickname. Oh. Shening retracted her foot and turned to sit on a rock beside her. Sigh. How long do I have to wait? She was hungry. A day later, in the rear hall of the Invincible Sect, smoke slowly rose from the kitchen. The wooden table in the courtyard was densely packed with more than a dozen fragrant dishes. Surprisingly, Shening was the only one sitting at the table. She was wolfing down the vegetables in front of her. There were more than 10 people in the courtyard. 4 of them were sitting on wooden stools. Although they were all emitting immortal qi, their feet were close together, and their hands were on their knees. Their backs were ramrod straight. They were as well behaved as they could be. They were the 4 celestial emperors. No one spoke. The entire courtyard reverberated with the sound of people chewing on vegetables. Bai Ti. That's scary. The sword immortal who beat him is cutting meat. Is this a threat? Jija. That's scary. The exalted goddess is eating meat. Is this a threat? Wu Hong. That's scary. The exalted goddess looks like she wants more food. Does she really want to eat him? Chu Xian. That's scary. Wait, why should he be afraid? Chu Xian. Why are you sitting there? Lone Moon glared at Chu Xian. Can't he tell that he's sitting at the defendant's stand? Chu Xian paused. Then he reacted. That's right. He didn't do anything wrong. Why was he sitting there? Damn. Chu Xian was used to sitting on the same level as the 10 celestial emperors. He stood up immediately and stood beside Lone Moon. Then, he threw the white-furred fox beside him onto the bench. Jiao. Bai Ti's heart ached. He wanted to hug the fox beside him. But before he could do so, he retracted his hand and continued to sit there. Tell me, how do you intend to resolve this? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. He turned around and nudged Shining. We're dealing with serious matters. Sit over there. Don't get in the way. Shining paused. She stood up, only to find that all the other chairs had been moved to the defendant's stand. There was no chair left. Exalted goddess, I have a chair here. Chu Xian's eyes lit up. He immediately retrieved an armchair from his storage bag and put it down. Please have a seat. Thank you. Shining then sat down and continued to eat without any distractions. I Ching, who was about to move the chair. Little b asterisk tch. Chu Xian, why do I feel a chill down my spine? Exalted goddess. Fellow immortals, it's a misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding. Jizha, who had been beaten up the most, tried to shift the blame to Bai Ti. Bai Qiao is the White Thearch's only daughter. The White Thearch went out to look for her, because she did not return home for a long time. I met him by chance on the road. We really don't know each other well. Bai Ti. What a disloyal fellow. He glared at him, cupped his fists and said, I have indeed misunderstood the two of you. I saw Jiao Jiao in your hands and she was injured. I thought it was you. I attacked her in a moment of desperation. When I regained my senses, you were already locked up in the divine artifact. That's why, now that things have come to this, no matter what you want to do with me, I am willing to accept it. And me exalted goddess, me too. Jizha immediately raised his hand. As long as they did not kill him, he would give up his position as the celestial emperor. The remaining Wu Hong. He looked back and forth between the two of them. Subconsciously he raised his hand as well. I didn't do anything. Is identical to. If fellow immortals are willing to let my daughter and me go, no matter what you ask of us, Bai Zhao will do it. I don't want to go back. Before he could finish speaking, the fox demon, who had been curled into a ball, suddenly spoke up. Chapter 188. Jiao Jiao. Bai Ti chided her. Why was she still throwing a tantrum? No, I don't want to go back. Bai Qiao shook her head vigorously. Her voice was full of panic. It wasn't easy for me to find the spirit convening lamp. As long as I have it, I can definitely. Jiao Jiao. Bai Ti's voice deepened as he interrupted her. He said angrily, why are you so stubborn? Celestial Emperor Xine Han will never like you. So what if you found the spirit convening lamp? It won't change anything. But he's injured. Bai Qiao argued anxiously. His primordial spirit is injured. That's why he doesn't feel anything for me. As long as he recovers, he will understand who is the best person for him. AI, you know what cultivation technique he's using. Why are you lying to yourself? Bai Ti sighed and continued to persuade her. Jiao Jiao, listen to me. Give up and go back with me. I, Bai Zhao, have so many immortals. There will definitely be someone better than him. But none of them are Xine Han. Bai Qiao's eyes reddened. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She turned and grabbed Bai Di's sleeve. Father, I beg you, can you help me borrow the spirit convening lamp? I promise this will be the last time. 300 years ago you said the same thing. Bai Ti's expression hardened. He looked helpless. But what happened in the end? All these years, because of a man who doesn't love you, you've fallen from a Stygian immortal to a second-stage demon. Don't tell me you're really going to throw your life away for him? Have you ever thought about what I will do if you leave? Bai Qiao was stunned, but the tiny glimmer of hope in her eyes shone brightly. Father, I'm unfilial, but I've only had one wish since I was young. I'll be careful. I'll be fine. As long as I have the spirit convening lamp, as long as... Think about it. He's a celestial emperor. Why would he need you to help him recover his primordial spirit? Even without the spirit convening lamp, he can still recover. Besides, Bai Ti reminded her, even if his primordial spirit recovers, he won't feel anything for you. Bai Qiao stood rooted to the ground. Bai Ti's heart ached. He summoned a strand of immortal qi and sent it into the white fox's body to help it transform. A moment later, a white-robed young girl appeared beside him. Willowy eyebrows, phoenix-like eyes and cherry-like lips. As expected of a fox's transformation, her appearance was very distinctive. However, his eyes seemed to be filled with melancholy that could not be dispelled. It was as if tears would gush out in the next moment. Jiao Jiao, Bai Ti sighed and continued to persuade her. You know that he cultivates the heartless Tao and has a heart of stone. Who in the celestial world didn't know that in order to sever all relationships and cut out his own heart, he became a celestial emperor? He's a heartless person and doesn't understand what love is. No matter how much you help him, the result will be the same. But, Bai Qiao burst into tears again. After transforming into her human form, she looked even more pitiful, as if she was about to faint from crying. I can't let him go, I really can't. Father, I only have you. I beg you, can you help me borrow the spirit convening lamp? I promise this will be the last time. Take it that we're father and daughter. Before she could finish her sentence, the space in front of her darkened. She was kicked away. She transformed back into her fox form and rolled down the mountain. His unfinished words were still lingering on his lips. Girl, donkey. She rolled all the way to the bottom of the mountain. Shining, who was still holding the bowl of rice in one hand, retracted her leg and said slowly, Noisy. Lone Moon, I Ching. The four emperors. Everyone. Wow. They did not know why the sect master had suddenly attacked them. But what's with this inexplicably awesome feeling? Shining sat back down calmly and continued eating her rice. It was as if she was not the one who had rushed out to kick Bai Qiao. She did not want to hear such a sadomasochistic story. It would affect her appetite. Jiao. Bai Ti finally reacted. He turned to glare at Shining and stepped forward angrily. You, stop. 3 before he could finish speaking, Wu Hong, Ji Zhe and Chu Xian, who was standing beside Lone Moon, rushed forward and pressed Bai Ti to the ground. Holy shit. Even if you want to die, don't implicate us. Chu Xian, wait. Why did he come? You woo. Bai Ti wanted to speak, but his mouth was sealed by the 3 of them. He turned to look at I Ching, who was helping to lay out the dishes. Then, as if recalling something, he suppressed the anger in his heart. Although he was worried about his daughter, this was not a place where he could lose his temper. Seeing that he had calmed down, the 3 of them released him. Fellow immortal. Bai Ti took a deep breath and looked at the person who seemed to be in charge of the invincible sect, Lone Moon. I have offended you in the past. My daughter's act of stealing the lamp was indeed inappropriate. But you have seen for yourself that this lamp is very important to her. I wonder if I won't lend it to you. Before Lone Moon could reply, Shining unexpectedly rejected him. I know that divine artifacts are not like other Dharma artifacts, but if fellow immortal can agree, I am willing to pay any price even if. Bai Ti still felt sorry for his daughter. Gritting his teeth, he continued. If you want me to give you a divine artifact in exchange, I can do that. As he spoke, he turned his hand, and a small silver bell appeared in his hand. It was the divine refining bell. However, there were already many cracks on the clock. Lamp. Before Shining could finish speaking, Lone Moon reached out and covered her mouth. Nodding, he said, All right. Bai Ti was overjoyed. But your divine refining bell is already damaged. I can only lend you the lamp for 10 days. Lone Moon continued. What's more, borrowing the lamp has nothing to do with what happened before. He had to pay what he had to pay. Thank you, fellow immortal. Lone Moon continued to discuss the specific compensation for this misunderstanding incident with the few of them. He harshly shaved off a sum of money from the 3 of them before waving his hand and letting the few bosses who had spent a lot of money leave. What do you want this broken bell for? Feng Ying could not help but ask. Although it could still be used, its power had been greatly reduced. Don't tell me you know how to repair it? I don't, but Sun Shu does. This divine artifact was made by his race. How worth it was to borrow a broken lamp in exchange for a divine artifact. Other than being convinced, he could not say anything else. Oh yes, what happened to you? Lone Moon turned to look at Shining. Why did you suddenly kick that fox demon? She was not someone who had so much free time in the past. Did I? She had clearly kicked it naturally. It was not sudden at all. Maybe. I suddenly understand my sister a little. Lo Moon was shocked. You have a sister? Shenning suddenly trembled. Even her lazy body straightened. A strange expression flashed across her face. She lowered her voice and said, I don't think so. Chapter 189. The three celestial emperors left. Father Neo had made a big deal. No one knew exactly how they talked about it. Judging from how he nonchalantly approved Xunying's unlimited requests for supper in the future, it must be a large sum. Father Neo arranged for Lan Hua to stay at the back of the mountain, to look after the large immortal herb field. His main task was to water the immortal herbs. Perhaps it was because they had developed some revolutionary friendship during those few days in the heavens beyond heaven that Radish, who had always disliked all males, actually did not object. The two of them worked well together. One watered the herbs while the other helped Lan Hua refine them into pills of various grades. The two of them managed to take care of an entire production line, freeing up the entire sex labor force, and causing the disciples' cultivation levels to increase rapidly. Chu Xian did not leave either. After paying a sum of money for food, he planned to stay here for a long time. At first, he followed Lan Hua around all day, wanting to bring him back to Hechuan to repay his debt of gratitude. After a few days of hard work, there was no result at all. Everyone in the sect looked at him more and more strangely. Every time he went to the back mountain, he would attract a crowd of onlookers. Occasionally, people would even cheer him on. At first, he was a little confused. Then, after spending a bunch of immortal stones, he found out from Lone Moon what it meant to be a gay friend. That made him feel terrible. What *King gay friend? What exactly is your sect teaching you on a daily basis? What he liked was a cute girl. Was a girl good? To prove that he was a straight man, Chu Xian felt that he had to do something. So he chose to do what every straight man would do. He bragged to the girls in the sect. Straight face. Every day he worked hard to dig up all kinds of gossip about the 80 celestial emperors. He was the one who told everyone about Bai Qiao and Xian Han's relationship. The story was quite long. It had to start with the divine artifact of Yufeng immortal realm. Tens of thousands of years ago, Bai Qiao was a Stygian immortal and Bai Ti's daughter. Although Bai Ti was not a celestial emperor at that time, he was only an immortal emperor. But Bai Qiao was also a famous heavenly beauty in the immortal realm. The immortals who wanted to be her Dao partner could be lined up from Bai Zhao to Feng Song. But when the divine artifact divine refining bell appeared, Bai Zhao fell into internal strife. Although Bai Ti managed to subdue the bell and become a celestial emperor, his daughter Bai Qiao was accidentally knocked down to the lower realm. That was when she met Xian Han, who was still a cultivator in the lower realm. She had saved the damsel in distress and fallen in love with him. Bai Qiao followed Xian Han back to the upper realm. The two of them had a sweet time together. It was said that they even wanted to become Dao companions. Bai Ti did not want his daughter to marry a newly ascended earth immortal. But for some reason, Xian Han suddenly became a Xian Han. His cultivation base kept rising. In just a few thousand years, he had reached the ascendant immortal stage. Bai Ti naturally did not object. However, the relationship between the two of them had become problematic. Those who cultivated the heartless Dao would slowly lose all sorts of emotions. Xian Han's attitude towards Bai Qiao grew colder and colder. The two lovers drifted further and further apart. In the end, Xian Han decided to dismember his own heart in order to achieve a breakthrough. But Bai Qiao refused to give up. In order to save Xian Han's life, she used up all her cultivation to repair his heart meridians. In the end, Xian Han survived and became a celestial emperor. Bai Qiao, however, became a second-level demon fox. Sigh, fate makes a fool out of us. That's why Bai Qiao could not let go of Xian Han. She wanted him to remember the feelings between them. Unfortunately, after so many years, Xian Han is still unmoved by her. I can only say, they're fated but not meant to be. Back then, many people in the immortal realm sighed. Chu Xian heaved a long sigh. He looked at the surrounding girls who were listening to the gossip and said seriously, "If it were me, I would never let my woman be sad. Did you see that? My manhood. I like girls." Everyone sighed. They understood why Bai Qiao was so stubborn. After all, they were once so in love. They could not help but feel sorry for the loss of their relationship. Except for Shening. As she munched on her snacks, she suddenly said, "Chicken, is this what it means to be fated but not meant to be?" Chu Xian pursed his lips. Could she not call it chicken? Isn't it supposed to be fated, but not meant to be? Xi and Han switched to the heartless Dao because of Bai Qiao. Now that his cultivation level has increased, the two of them can no longer be together. So according to your logic, Shening continued lazily, that whatever Han is a retard? He was stunned. What did she mean? Where did that come from? He knows that this cultivation technique is not good, but he still practices it. Isn't that retarded? Was she supposed to praise him for being smart? That did not make sense, right? That seemed to make sense. But this cultivation technique does increase one's cultivation level quickly. The more one cultivates the heartless Dao, the weaker one's feelings become. What's more, he has no heart. Without a heart, he would not understand love. It's normal that he no longer likes Bai Qiao. What does this have to do with having a heart? Does it? Is it? Is it true or not? Big boss, you're right. Scientifically speaking. Shening grabbed the fruit on the table and took another bite. She continued. At the end of the day, the feelings between a man and a woman arise when they meet a specific person. Their bodies begin to secrete phenylethylamine, dopamine, norepinephrine and other hormones. This makes them feel happy, excited and in love. This is the so-called love. The production of these hormones all comes from the brain. It has nothing to do with the heart. Although he did not understand, it sounded impressive. Love or not, if it comes from the heart. She scanned the crowd. Have you considered the feelings of a patient with a heart disease? That made sense. They had nothing to say. So whether he has a heart or not, whether he is a heartless person, and whether he likes that little animal or not are two different things. Shening patted the pastry crumbs on her hands. In other words, there's a problem with your logic. That Han person did not stop liking little animals because of the heartless Dao. He stopped liking her, so he cultivated the heartless Dao. The crowd fell silent. Chu Xian. What did the exalted goddess just say? Why was he the only one who did not understand? But it seemed to make sense. All the disciples. They did not understand at all. But what the sect master said must be right. Thus, without any hesitation, everyone present tacitly gave a label to a certain celestial emperor they had never met before. Scumbag. Lone Moon was the only one who understood. He suddenly felt that all the heartless male protagonists in his novels were all King retarded. Straight face, huh? Wait a minute. This was a martial arts arena. Why was everyone listening to gossip? Lone Moon's expression darkened. He was wondering if he should increase the accommodation fees of a certain chicken who was seducing a girl. Suddenly the ground shook. The entire invincible sect shook. A huge wave of immortal chi rose from the foot of the mountain. The protective mountain array was activated. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Before Shening could go forward to check, Roasted Chicken Gal hurriedly ran in, grabbed Xinying's hand and said anxiously, Little Ing, something happened to Xian Tong. Chapter 190. This is the heavenly tribulation. Lone Moon looked at the foot of the mountain and asked anxiously, Roasted Chicken, Pui Qingyu, what's happening down there? Nobody in the sect had reached the stage where they were about to undergo the heavenly tribulation. It's Xian Tong. Qi Qingyu said anxiously. I saw that she was about to form her immortal bones, so I've been guarding her these few days. Just now, her immortal bones were formed, but for some reason, the heavenly tribulation was triggered. How is that possible? Lone Moon's expression changed. Even if she formed her immortal bones, she's just an earth immortal. This is not the lower realm. There can't be the lightning tribulation. There were so many disciples in the sect, and they were all low-level cultivators. None of them had triggered the heavenly tribulation when they were earth immortals. I don't know either. Qi Qingyu said anxiously. Her cultivation level is indeed just at the edge of earth immortal. But the heavenly tribulation suddenly came. Feng Ying is outside helping Xian Tong set up an array, hoping to hold it off for a while. Just as she finished speaking, there was a loud rumble of thunder. A bolt of lightning struck from the sky, heading straight for the foot of the mountain. It's starting. Qingyu's expression became even more worried. Xian Tong might not be able to pass through the heavenly tribulation, but at this rate, the lightning would definitely affect the people in the sect. Let's go take a look. Shening got up and was about to rush down. Come back here. Lomun's mouth twitched. He pointed behind him and said, The way down the mountain is this way. Oh. Shening turned around and thought for a moment. Then, she pulled a disciple over and instructed, Little Green, go and get Boss Lon to come over too. Yes. Then, he followed the group towards the heavenly tribulation. The closer they got to where Xian Tong was in seclusion, the stronger the immortal qi around them became. The immortal qi at the foot of the mountain was even showing signs of solidifying. But unlike when roasted chicken gal and the rest descended, the immortal qi did not form an immortal ascension stage. Feng was standing at the foot of the mountain, supporting a defensive array to protect Xian Tong. But he was not an expert in array formations after all. The array was already showing signs of collapsing. Then with a thunderous boom, the second bolt of lightning came crashing down. The spell formation was shattered, and the tribulation lightning directly smashed into Xian Tong's body. She was not a body cultivator. Even though she was prepared, she was still struck until she spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the immortal bones in her body became more solid. Little Tong, Qinyu called out worriedly, growing more anxious by the minute. Mas. Xian Tong looked back, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Divine. Sect Master. After being in seclusion for nearly a year, she had clearly grown up. He looked straight at Shening. His whole body seemed to light up. Don't be distracted. Focus on dealing with the tribulation. Lomun reminded. All the best. Shening also said. Yes. Xian Tong's expression turned solemn, as if she was filled with courage in an instant. She closed her eyes and focused on circulating the immortal energy in her body. The wounds on her body that had just been struck began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the next moment, the third bolt of tribulation lightning fell. Lomun hurriedly set up a few array formations to prevent the tribulation lightning from affecting Invincible Sect. He also let Feng out. Now that the heavenly tribulation had arrived, it looked like it could not be stopped midway. Although he did not know what was going on, Xian Tong could only deal with the tribulation. But this lightning... He looked up at the rolling thunder clouds in the sky and frowned. This doesn't seem like the 9-9 lightning tribulation for ascension. Indeed not, I Ching replied casually. The immortal realm naturally does not have the lightning tribulation for ascension. So this can't be the heavenly tribulation of a golden immortal, right? Yes. I Ching nodded. Shit. Lomun was a little worried. He looked at Xian Tong, who was in the midst of the lightning tribulation. With a body that was not even an earth immortal, to withstand the heavenly tribulation of a golden immortal, even a body cultivator would not be able to do so. How long had she been cultivating? She's clearly just ascending to an earth immortal. There are so many disciples in the sect. Why is she the only one who has the heavenly tribulation? Lomun could not understand. What happened to the halo of the female lead? The female lead was treated like this? Did the author know? Just as he was thinking, Lan Hua, whom Shening had just told him to look for, was already flying over with Radish on his back. He was originally at the back of the mountain, so he arrived very quickly. Good heart, why did you call me? Little big sister. After making friends, Radish, who had already upgraded from an accessory on his feet to an accessory on his back, jumped off Lan Hua's back and did a jumping motion. Then like a bullet he charged toward Shening. Then he plunged headfirst into the mud behind her. Shening, who had taken a step away, calmly waved at Lan Hua. Boss Lan, come over and take a look. Look at what? Lan Hua looked confused. Everyone looked confused too. What's so good about the heavenly tribulation? He suddenly paused and looked at the person in the lightning tribulation with some surprise. Who is this lady? Why is there demonic chi on her? The others might not be able to see it, but as a demon, he was very familiar with demonic chi. Although it was very little, the lady was clearly surrounded by a faint trace of demonic chi, and it was emitted from her body. But she was clearly an immortal cultivator. Demonic qi. Lo Moon was shocked. Recalling Xian Tong's identity, he also realized why Shining had called Lan Hua over. Could it be because of this that she attracted the heavenly tribulation when she ascended to become an earth immortal? She's an earth immortal? Lan Hua paused for a moment, then nodded with a look of understanding. It's very possible. This is also the first time I've seen such a situation. By right, the two auras of immortals and demons repel each other and cannot exist at the same time. But she has both. Maybe that's why she attracted the heavenly tribulation when she ascended to immortality. The lightning tribulation should be striking the demonic qi on her body. Indeed, every time a bolt of lightning struck, the demonic qi around her body dissipated a little. Lan Hua looked carefully for a moment, then frowned and said, "But her demonic qi seems to be emitted from her primordial spirit. If the lightning tribulation wants to completely disperse the demonic qi on her body, unless disperse the primordial spirit." I Ching finished. Lan Hua nodded. Instantly, everyone's expression darkened, especially Qi Qingyu, who became even more anxious. Who exactly is this lady? Is she a demon? Lan Hua could not help but ask. Her primordial spirit was tainted with demonic qi, but her dantian was full of immortal qi, and her cultivation technique was also an immortal technique. I've heard of demons falling to the demonic path, but I've never heard of demons becoming immortal cultivators. Do you have a way? Lo Moon asked directly. I do. Lan Hua looked troubled. But it's more troublesome. What way? Qi Qingyu asked anxiously. Draw the demonic qi on her body to me. He was not afraid of having too much demonic qi. But I need to come into contact with her primordial spirit in order to completely cleanse her of demonic qi. Qi Qingyu was overjoyed. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua, please save little Tong. No. Lan Hua rejected her immediately. I don't know her that well, and if I want to save her, I'll have to go into the lightning tribulation and be struck together with her. I won't. Boss, save her. Shening interrupted. All right. Lan Hua did not even have time to react before he plunged into the lightning tribulation. Everyone. Mother asterisk Kerr. He hated this kind heart. Chapter 191. Lan Hua's sudden appearance caused the lightning tribulation to strike them even more violently. But this was only a golden immortal's heavenly tribulation. To a former celestial emperor like Lan Hua, this did not affect him at all. Instead, he helped Xian Tong block a lot of the lightning tribulation. He sat cross-legged behind Xian Tong, demonic qi surging around his body. His divine perception was just about to draw out the demonic qi from her body when Xian Tong sealed her 5 senses, subconsciously preventing the foreign aura from approaching. Good Heart asked me to save you, Lan Hua explained. Then after some thought he added, it was your sect master. Xian Tong hesitated, then gave up resisting, and allowed his divine perception to enter her body. A moment later, Lan Hua found the source of her demonic qi. He was slightly shocked. Why was there the aura of a demonic seed in her body? He did not think too much about it. He tried his best to draw out the demonic qi from her body. Although she was cooperating with him, the lightning tribulation would strike from time to time. Her speed was not very fast, but the remaining demonic qi in Xian Tong's body was indeed decreasing. They did not know if it was an illusion, but as the demonic qi disappeared, Xian Tong's immortal bones were growing faster. An hour later, Lan Hua finally drew out the last bit of demonic qi from her body. He stood up and left the area of the heavenly tribulation. It's done. He looked at Shen Ying and said, the demonic qi in her primordial spirit has been cleared. She just needs to endure the last few bolts of lightning, and she will be able to form her immortal bones. Thank you, Celestial Emperor Lan Hua. Qingyu stepped forward and bowed. Then she heaved a sigh of relief. Xian Tong had been brought up by her. Naturally, she was more nervous than anyone else. As the sect master, Shening felt that she should express her gratitude. Elder Lan. Don't speak. Lan Hua immediately interrupted. Please, every time you speak, I want to give you something. He did not want to be left with only his underwear. Shening. Qingyu. Everyone. The lightning tribulation is ending soon. Lone Moon reminded them. Everyone turned to look. Indeed, the immortal chi around Xian Tong was getting thicker and thicker. The lightning tribulation was getting stronger and stronger. Even the array that Lone Moon had specially set up was showing signs of loosening. Lightning was faintly shining from the outside. Celestial Emperor Chu Xian, help me. Lone Moon turned to Chu Xian as he rearranged the array. Chu Xian was straightforward. He and Lone Moon set up the array, one on the left and one on the right. Waves of magical light flashed before his eyes, once again blocking the remaining might of the heavenly lightning outside. At this time, 79 bolts of lightning had struck down, and there were only 2 left. Perhaps it was because Lan Hua had helped her block a portion of the heavenly lightning, but Xian Tong was in a pretty good state. 2 of the strongest golden immortal heavenly lightning bolts came crashing down on her, but she managed to withstand it. Even though his entire body had been burnt to a crisp, and he was lying on the ground on his last breath, his immortal bones had already grown back. In fact, because he had transcended the tribulation, the immortal energy around him was slightly denser than other body cultivators of the same cultivation level. It's fine now. Qi Qingyu heaved a long sigh of relief and exited the array formation. She walked over, her voice tinged with joy. Little Tongyu. Little you. Don't go over there. She was just about to exit the array formation when Feng suddenly pulled her back. The next moment, a bolt of heavenly fire descended from the sky at a speed faster than the heavenly lightning. It struck the heavily injured Xian Tong on the ground. The system notification on Feng Ying's body also ended. Danger warning. Detected a high heat energy object approaching. In less than 2 breaths' time, the entire protective mountain array was engulfed in a sea of fire. The entire invincible sect was dyed crimson. Wildfire. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? Why did the wildfire appear? Although an immortal's advancement would produce 36 bolts of wildfire, Xian Tong was only an immortal. Moreover, she was the lowest level earth immortal. The bit of immortal chi in her body could not possibly attract the wildfire. What's more, the demonic chi in her body had been cleared. She was now a real immortal. The last few bolts of lightning could be attributed to the fact that the heavenly tribulation had been triggered, and she had to endure it. But what was with the wildfire? Xian Tong's figure was no longer in the flames. Even her weak aura could not be felt. Little Tong! Qi Qingyu cried out. She was about to rush in to save her when Feng Ying held her back. Wait, little you. If you go in, the power of the heavenly tribulation will double. You're only a golden immortal. You won't be able to withstand it. But Xian Tong, if this goes on, she will die. She looked anxious. Seeing that the next bolt of wildfire was about to descend, she turned to look at the person behind her. Elder Lone Moon, what exactly? Lone Moon looked confused as well. I don't know either. Where's Shining? Only then did everyone realize that Shining, who had been standing beside them, had disappeared. At that moment, in the heart of the wildfire, Shining helped up the charcoal that no longer looked human. She patted its face and said, Hey Shorty, are you still alive? After a while, that piece of charcoal finally glanced at her. It seemed to have used all the strength in its body to move its fingers, and gently tugged at the corner of her clothes. God! In the next moment, its hand fell, and there was no more movement. Shorty! Shorty! Xian Tong did not respond at all. Shining frowned. In the next moment, there was a whirring sound above their heads. A huge red fireball descended from the sky and smashed directly in their direction. It carried with it a pressure that could destroy heaven and earth. The scorching heat caused everything on the ground to ignite before it even hit the ground. It looked like it was about to hit the 2 of them. Xin Ying's expression turned cold. The anger in her heart rose. She carried the person on the ground and stood up. Lifting her leg, she kicked the fireball back like she was kicking a ball. Get lost. You're blind. You're throwing fire at me. With a swoosh, the heavenly fire flew back into the sky at a speed 10 times faster than when it had landed. It burrowed into the clouds. The next moment there was a loud rumble. It was as if something had exploded in the sky, The thunderclouds that had yet to disperse were instantly ignited like flammable explosives. The sky was suddenly lit up with a sea of fire, turning the entire world red. Shening turned to look at the sea of fire around her. Her eyes narrowed. In an instant, the surrounding flames seemed to shrink. The prairie fire surrounding the two of them retreated, revealing a path. Only then did she turn around and walk away with the charred body in her arms. After a while, she changed her direction and walked back to the mountain guarding formation that was not far away. Lone Moon, I Ching. The two emperors. The couple. Speaking of which, what exactly happened inside just now? Why did the sky suddenly catch fire? Why did the fire on the ground suddenly extinguish? And could the heavenly tribulation be interrupted midway? Shening placed Xian Tong on the ground and waved at Chu Xian. Chicken, come and take a look. Chu Xian trembled. Then he reacted. Chicken is here. He hurried over and performed an incantation gesture to cast a heart protection incantation on the man on the ground, protecting his heart and meridians. Then, he used his immortal qi to examine him carefully. However, the more he examined, the deeper his frown became. He looked hesitantly at the crowd, and only after a long moment did he speak. Exalted goddess. When her immortal bones were formed, she was already at the end of her rope. She was just hanging on to her last breath. He sighed. He admired this lady's perseverance. She could have recovered by just regulating her breathing, but she was hit by the prairie fire. Moreover, she was not prepared, and the deviant fire entered her body. Now that the prairie fire has invaded her heart meridians, and she has a water spirit root, water and fire do not mix. She cannot regulate her own breathing. The result? Chu Xian shook his head and continued. Her meridians are all broken. Her foundation is destroyed. Her immortal bones are broken. Even her primordial spirit has been corroded by the prairie fire. It will be very difficult for her to recover. And even if she recovers, I'm afraid, her cultivation will be destroyed. Chapter 192. Everyone fell silent. They had always known that this child was unlucky, but they did not expect her to be this unlucky. Jingyu could not take it anymore. Her body swayed as she tried to hold back the tears in her eyes. She was the one who taught Xian Tong her cultivation. All these years, no one knew better than her how hard Xian Tong had worked. She had long regarded Xian Tong as her only disciple, but now Lone Mun's expression did not look too good. He turned to look at Shening, who was standing there in deep thought. Then he instructed Chu Xian, send her back to the side hall first. Chu Xian picked up the person on the ground and flew back to the side hall where the invincible sect disciples were staying. Yu Hong. Lone Moon glanced at Chu Xian, who was treating Xian Tong's injuries. He pulled the red-robed girl aside and said, Go to the capital and ask the richest man in the city, exalted immortal Shu Jiang, to come over. I remember he is a famous immortal doctor. He might have a way. Yes, elder. Yu Hong turned to go out. Wait. Lone Moon thought for a moment and added, If you can't find him, go to the war-stopping palace and look for Sun Shu. He is the emperor now, he should be of some use. Tell him Shening said it. I understand. Yu Hong nodded and flew away on her sword. A month later, Chu Xian had the highest cultivation level among all the immortals here. With him around, Xian Tong's condition had stabilized. Her injuries had also healed. Her skin color had returned to normal. Although Chu Xian was a celestial emperor, he did not know much about medicine. His only expertise was in array formations. Lan Hua might have learned a lot, but he was still a fiendish cultivator. Even if he got close to Xian Tong, he could affect her, much less help her. That was why he stayed in the back mountain with Radish for the past few days. Perhaps because her injuries were too serious, Xian Tong did not wake up. When Yu Hong brought Shu Jiang back for treatment, Shu Jiang said the same thing as Chu Xian. But after a few days of treatment, Xian Tong started to wake up. Finally, a month later, she opened her eyes. Little Tong. Qi Qingyu, who had been watching over her for a month, was the first to pounce on her. She scanned her from head to toe and asked worriedly, How are you? The person on the bed was stunned for a moment. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Her face was immediately dyed with a panicked expression. Qingyu hurriedly comforted him. You're seriously injured. You need to recuperate slowly. It's normal to not be able to speak for a while. The person on the bed shook her head, as if she was in a hurry to say something. Don't worry. Qingyu stroked her head and said slowly. With the sect master, the elders and the celestial emperor around, you will be fine. Only then did Xian Tong turn around subconsciously. Hey little shorty. Shening waved in greeting. However, the person on the bed trembled violently and looked at her with wide eyes. He almost fell off the bed. Fortunately, Qingyu caught him. Don't be agitated. Little Ing is here to see you. Qingyu smiled. As a member of her fangirl group, she could naturally understand her feelings. After all, she had been in seclusion for a long time in order to ascend to immortality. Unfortunately, everyone, this fairy still needs to recuperate. Why don't? Xu Jiang gave the few people a look, indicating for them to leave. Everyone understood. Lone Moon nodded at Qingyu, then led the whole house of people out. Rest well. Shening also instructed. She glanced at the person on the bed, who had shrunk herself under the blanket. She turned and followed Father Nyo out. Passing by the window, she touched it casually. Her hand was covered in dust. She paused for a moment, then stepped out of the room. The few of them returned to the front hall. Xu Jiang wiped the sweat off his forehead and bowed respectfully to the few people. Celestial Emperor, two young emperors. Although fellow immortal Xian has awakened, her primordial spirit and destroyed foundation are extremely difficult to repair. I am also powerless. Even the spirit convening lamp won't work? Lo Moon asked anxiously. Wasn't the spirit convening lamp able to repair an immortal's primordial spirit? Xu Han looked troubled. Fellow immortal Xian's injury was caused by the prairie fire entering her body. In addition, her spirit root is resistant to the fire, so the longer it lasts, the more serious it becomes. Although the spirit convening lamp can repair the primordial spirit, as long as the blazing qi in her body is not expelled, this injury will recur. The spirit convening lamp cannot cure the root cause. Repairing it without permission will only cause her to suffer more pain. Lone Moon frowned. Now he was really sure that Xian Tong was not some evil female lead. For a female lead to behave like this, it would lower the standard of the female lead's halo. Is there really no other way? Xian Tong was a disciple of the sect after all. If the halo of a female lead could not protect her, as a nanny, Pui as an elder, of course he had to take responsibility. Xu Jiang glanced at Chu Xian and said hesitantly, There is one way. What way? Have you heard of the Luohan stone, young emperor? What the hell? Luohan stone. Chu Xian was shocked. You mean Yi Shui Xian Han's Luohan stone? That's right. Xu Jiang nodded. It's Celestial Emperor Xian Han's divine artifact, the Luohan stone. Since the Celestial Emperor of Hechuan was here, perhaps they could really borrow it. It is said that this item is the coldest thing in the world. It can freeze the sea in an instant. It is the nemesis of the blazing qi in fellow immortal Xian's body. We can draw it out of her body, and then repair her foundation. Celestial Emperor Xian Han. Lone Moon frowned. He did not expect to be brought back to this scumbag again. Previously, it was the fox demon who borrowed the spirit convening lamp to save him. This time, it was their turn to borrow the Luohan stone. What goes around comes around. Thank you, exalted immortal Shu. Lone Moon bowed to Xu Jiang. Young emperor, you are too kind. Xu Jiang hurriedly returned the bow. After some thought he added, Oh yes, fellow immortal Xian's condition is inconvenient for her to move. It would be best if you could borrow the Luohan stone. Also, this cannot be delayed. Otherwise, even if the blazing qi is removed, it will be difficult to repair her foundation. Alright, we'll remember that. Lo Moon nodded. Xu Jiang gave a few more instructions, then continued to look at Xian Tong in the side hall. It looks like we have to make a trip there. This matter cannot be delayed. Shening, we are now. Shening? Shening. Hey. Lone Moon pushed the person next to him, who was still holding the fruit. Huh. Shening faltered. She lost her grip on the fruit and dropped it. Yi Qing, who was beside her, hurriedly handed her a new one. What are you doing? Why are you in a daze? Lone Moon glanced at her confused. She even forgot to eat the fruit. How rare. What's wrong with you these few days? I feel like you've been acting strange since the day of Xian Tong's heavenly tribulation. Master. I Ching looked over worriedly. Your appetite these few days has also decreased by 1%. Do you have to be so precise? Straight face. Lone Moon seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened. You didn't find out anything else, did you? Not really. Shenning tilted her head. A moment later, she sat up straight and looked at the two seriously. Chef Father Niu, don't you think? Wait. Lone Moon suddenly raised his hand and gestured for her to stop. Don't say it now. Huh. Why? Lone Moon said seriously. Every time you speak seriously, I feel like I have to add an epiphany buff. We still have to rush to Yishui. We don't have time to pause. We'll talk about it when I'm ready. I Ching. Chu Xian. Shenning. Son of AB *TCH. Chapter 193. The Yishui continent was in the northernmost part of the immortal realm. It was different from Fengsong, where it was spring all year round. It was a snow-white world of ice and snow. Along the way they saw very little green. Apart from the snow, there was only the boundless sea beside them. Because they were in a hurry to save someone, the three did not linger on the continent. They headed straight for the heavens beyond heaven's Yishui palace. Along the way, they did not see many immortal officials. It was rather quiet. With the pass that Chu Xian gave them, they arrived at the heavenly palace's entrance without any obstructions. After a brief explanation of their purpose to the immortal official, someone went in to inform the immortal official. Not long after, someone came out to greet them and greeted them. The Celestial Emperor invites you in. Without another word, he led them towards the main hall. There was a person sitting in the hall. He was dressed in white, and his long hair was tied up high. His angular face looked very righteous, but his eyes were as cold as ice. It was as if one look at them would cause ice and snow to float out. He did not have the slightest bit of humanity, only a coldness that came from his bones. From his aura, he must be the Celestial Emperor, Xian Han. Greetings, Celestial Emperor. The three bowed politely. The person above glanced at the three of them, his eyes still emotionless. After a while, he opened the door and said in a cold tone, You are from Invincible Sect? That's right. Lone Moon habitually put on a businesslike expression. Xian Han seemed to have thought of something. He frowned and said coldly, I remember. I sent someone to send the spirit convening lamp back to Fengsong. Celestial Emperor, you misunderstand. We have indeed received the lamp. Lone Moon continued, We are not here to ask for the spirit convening lamp. Oh. Why is that? Lone Moon smiled even more warmly. It's like this. One of our disciples had some problems during his tribulation, causing the chi of the flames to enter his body. We thought of many ways but could not get rid of it, so you want to borrow the Luohan stone? Xian Han said directly. His voice was still cold, but his brows furrowed. That's right, we are here for the Luohan stone. Lone Moon had already guessed that it would not be so easy to borrow it. He tried his best to calm his tone and said seriously, I also know that this is a divine artifact, but we are eager to save people. As long as the Celestial Emperor agrees, we are willing to exchange the divine refining bell for it. If the Empyrean Lord is worried, we can go together. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and a small bell covered in cracks appeared in his hand. He had been too busy these few days, and had not had the time to send it to Sun Shu for repairs. He wouldn't feel the pinch even if he gave it away. Xian Han's expression did not change. He glanced at the divine refining bell in Lone Moon's hand. A moment later, he continued, Everyone lent me the spirit convening lamp to help me recover my primordial spirit. I should agree to all kinds of requests. And the Luohan stone is indeed in this heavenly palace. It's just that it's not convenient to lend it to you. What do you mean by that, Celestial Emperor? Lone Moon paused. If he wanted to borrow it, he wanted to borrow it. If he didn't want to borrow it, he didn't want to borrow it. What did he mean by it being inconvenient? Xian Han's frown deepened. His expressionless face darkened. Suddenly he sighed and stood up. As he turned and walked towards the back of the palace, he said, "Everyone, follow me and you will understand." Lone Moon and the others exchanged a look and followed him. Xian Han led them through a sea of clouds towards an independent immortal palace. As he flew on his sword, he explained to them, "That day, I was still recovering from my injuries. Fairy Baiqiao brought the spirit convening lamp. My primordial spirit was at its most unstable. To stabilize my primordial spirit, she forcibly lit the spirit convening lamp and used the soul subduing technique. So, he waved his hand, and the doors of the immortal palace opened automatically. A gust of cold white qi rushed towards them. Even Lone Moon and I Ching, who were young emperors, could not help but be shocked by the cold qi. The inside of the immortal palace was already snow white, and the ground inside was covered with thick ice. A person lay on the platform in the middle of the layer of ice. She was dressed in a pink fairy dress and seemed to be asleep. They could feel a faint aura emanating from her. "That's Baiqiao," Lone Moon exclaimed. "A few months ago, she was still alive and kicking, stealing lights. How did she become like this? Her breathing was weak, as if she could die at any moment. Her cultivation level is too low. She forced herself to use the divine artifact and the soul-subduing technique. That's why her sorcery backfired, and her primordial spirit was injured." Xian Han shook his head. There was no guilt or heartache on his face. Instead, there was only disapproval. "I only realized this after I woke up. But I know too little about primordial spirit sorcery. I could only use the Luo Han stone to freeze her dantian and meridians, so that her condition would not worsen." With that, he conjured a seal. The next moment, a piece of red jade appeared above the ice bed. It floated in midair and emitted a steady stream of cold qi. Without the Luo Han stone, her condition would worsen. "That's why I can't lend it to you," Xian Han explained in a low voice. He helped Baiqiao up from the ice bed and conjured a few healing spells. Baiqiao, who was originally covered in a thin layer of ice, now had a few drops of water on her forehead, and her complexion had regained some color. Her eyelids moved as if she was about to wake up. After a while, she slowly opened her eyes. "Are you feeling better?" Xian Han asked. His voice was still cold. Baiqiao paused. "You." Her voice was hoarse. Her face contorted in pain. Lone Moon frowned. On the way here, he had prepared himself that she would not lend it to him. He was prepared to pay a huge price for it. He did not expect this to be the reason. They wanted to borrow the Luo Han stone to save someone. Now he wanted to save someone. He did not know what to say. The Celestial Emperor said that her primordial spirit was injured? I Ching suddenly asked. The two people on the other side were stunned. Even Baiqiao, who was on the bed, turned around. She seemed to recognize them, and her eyes suddenly widened. You need to rest." Xian Han comforted her softly. He waved a hand in front of her eyes. Baiqiao's body went limp. Her eyes widened for a moment, then slowly closed again. She fell into a deep sleep. He helped Baiqiao lie down. Then he turned to the two of them and nodded. Baiqiao's primordial spirit was indeed injured. Lone Moon also reacted and immediately understood what I Ching meant. "That's easy. My sex spirit convening lamp is naturally more useful than the Luo Han stone. What do you think?" He took a step forward and suggested. "We'll leave the spirit convening lamp here. The Celestial Emperor will lend us the Luo Han stone. When my sex disciple recovers, we'll exchange the Luo Han stone. Of course, fellow immortal Baiqiao's injuries must also recover. What do you think?" Xian Han hesitated for a moment. Then he nodded. "That's a win-win situation. All right." Lone Moon turned his hand and took out the spirit convening lamp. He did not take it. Instead, he looked down at Baiqiao. "Please come with us. Please wait for a moment. I'll keep the Luo Han stone." Lone Moon and the others nodded. They took the lamp and left. Xian Han was quick. In a short while, the cold qi around the immortal palace disappeared. He came out with the Luo Han stone and exchanged it with Lone Moon for the spirit convening lamp. The few of them were in a hurry to save Baiqiao. They bade farewell politely and flew out of the heavenly palace. When they could no longer see the heavenly palace, I Ching said, He did it on purpose. Chapter 194. You can tell too? Lone Moon glanced at him and nodded. There is something wrong with this Xian Han. But this Luo Han stone is real. Having known Sun Shu for so long, Lone Moon could tell if a divine artifact was real or fake. Why did Xian Han lead them to exchange the Luo Han stone for the spirit convening lamp? Was it really to save Bai Qiao? It's not for her, I Ching said confidently, as if guessing what Sun Shu was thinking. The man looked at Bai Qiao with an emotionless expression. Who cares? Anyway, we've already borrowed the Luo Han stone. Lone Moon did not think too much about it. But seeing this celestial emperor with my own eyes, I'm starting to believe that he's an emotionless, heartless man. Bai Qiao was so loyal to him, but the way he looked just now, not only did he not feel touched, he did not even feel guilty. In fact, when he spoke, it was as if there was ice in his voice. He does. What? What did he mean? Sun Shu frowned. Although that man looked like an emotionless block of ice, he felt that the coldness he exuded was deliberate. Furthermore, Master said that feelings have nothing to do with the heart, unless you're retarded. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Shining don't always. Where's Shining? He turned to find that there was no one beside him. The person who was supposed to be standing on I Ching's flying sword was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly he had a bad feeling. Holy shit. When did she disappear? I think when we left the Heavenly Palace. Master wasn't there? Wait. Did she follow us into the Heavenly Palace? I Ching. Lone Moon. Watery Heavenly Palace. In the ice room just now. The thick layer of ice had disappeared. Although there was still some lingering cold chi, it was not as bone-chilling as before. The person who had been unconscious on the ice bed had woken up. She pressed a hand to her chest, panting heavily. After a while, she turned to get down. Suddenly, a white light flashed around her. Ah! Bai Qiao screamed. She realized that there was an array beneath her. She took a closer look and realized that it was a trapping array. Jiao Jiao. A cold male voice came from beside her. Xian Han suddenly appeared beside her and reached out to stroke her cheek. Why are you still so impulsive? The person on the bed was stunned and subconsciously moved back, avoiding his touch. She swept a glance at the person who was clearly saying such doting words, but his eyes were still cold. The eyeliner moved to the lamp in his hand, and a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. What do you want? Xian Han's expression remained impassive. A moment later, he said in a low voice, Jiao Jiao, after all these years, you should know best what I want. Isn't all of this because of you? Bai Qiao's face darkened. What do you mean? What's wrong? Are you going back on your word? Xian Han laughed icily. His eyes turned even colder. Bai Qiao didn't say anything, but her expression became even more vigilant. Suddenly, he leaned closer to her. His cold expression was suddenly tinged with anger. When you fell into the mortal realm, if you hadn't possessed her body and taken over her identity, I wouldn't have mistaken you for her. She is my Dao companion. You stole everything from her. After you ascended, you lied to me for so many years. Do you feel even the slightest bit of guilt towards her? I've said it before, I'm not. Is there any point in denying it now? Xian Han interrupted her. His expression became even colder. Didn't you say that you would do anything for me? Then how about you give your body to her now? What? Bai Qiao's eyes widened. Xian Han's lips curved into a smile. His cold expression suddenly became lively, as if he was sprinkled with thousands of stars. Even Bai Qiao was stunned. I found. He spoke slowly, but his eyes were fixed on the person in front of him, as if trying to read something from her face. I finally found her reincarnation. You stole her body back then. Isn't it only right for you to return it to her? You want to swap our souls. Bai Qiao was in disbelief. I only just found out that she's in the immortal realm. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for letting me know about this lamp. He looked at the lamp in his hand, then at her face again. This time, he did not let her escape. He grabbed her by the neck. You owe her. You have to repay her eventually. Bai Qiao could not make a sound. Xian Han stared at her for a long time. Then, he released her and turned to walk forward. He stopped in front of the innermost wall. Suddenly he conjured a dermic seal. An array formation appeared on the white wall. Within seconds, the entire wall began to open to reveal a hidden room. "Why did you lock me up here?" An angry female voice rang out from inside. A woman dressed in emerald green walked out. She glared at Xanhan. "You'd better let me go. Don't think you're so great, just because you're a celestial emperor. My master is Celestial Emperor Chengge. If you dare to harm a single hair on my head, my master will never let you off." Little Xian. Xanhan looked at the woman in front of him in a daze. He reached out to hold her hand, but she slapped his hand away. "Don't touch me. I've told you hundreds of times. My name is Hui Ling. I'm not your little Xian. And I'm not your wife." Xanhan did not get angry. Instead, he looked at her affectionately. "You just don't remember. Soon, you'll remember your past life." "What do you mean?" Hui Ling paused. Xanhan smiled at her and pulled her back to the center of the room. He pointed at the woman in front of him. "Do you remember her?" "Who is she?" Hui Ling frowned. "It's okay if you don't know her. I've cast a resurrection spell on her. Soon you'll understand everything." He immediately set up an array around Hui Ling's body and said anxiously, "When you become her, I will remove the seal on her body. By then, not only will you remember everything, but you will also be a Stygian immortal." "Stygian immortal?" Hui Ling exclaimed. She suddenly understood what he meant. "You want to change our souls?" "No, I don't want to." She wanted to escape, but she was trapped in the array. "Don't worry, nothing will happen," Xanhan comforted her. He walked to Bai Qiao's side, lit the spirit convening lamp, and placed it at the edge of the array. He was just about to activate his immortal spell to change souls, when Bai Qiao suddenly broke out of the array and rushed towards him. A sword formed from immortal qi flew towards him. Xanhan parried the attack with his palm, but the sword in front of him suddenly changed. Thousands of sword shadows flew towards him. Xanhan was shocked. He had no choice but to summon his weapon to block the attack. Bai Qiao did not continue. Instead, she took this opportunity to turn and rush out of the door. She was about to fly out of the door. Suddenly, an array lit up, sealing the entire door. There was a flash of lightning. Bai Qiao fell to the ground. She was already seriously injured. Now she spat out a mouthful of blood, but she did not collapse. Xanhan looked at the array that trapped her. It was stained with blood. The array had been broken. It looked like she had been secretly breaking the array. He could not help but feel surprised. "I didn't expect you to improve so much after all these years." He laughed coldly and walked towards her. "But, do you think you can escape? Bai Ti doesn't care about you anymore. No one will come to save you." As he spoke, he conjured a seal. A cold light flashed and a spell was formed. He was about to use it on the person on the ground. Suddenly, he felt his hand tighten. Someone grabbed him, and he could not move. The spell in his hand dissipated. A lazy voice rang out. "Sorry, I'm here." Xanhan. "Hui Ling." There was a moment of silence. Shenning turned to look at the person on the ground. She waved and smiled. "Hey, Shorty." Chapter 195. The person on the ground was stunned. His eyes widened as he stared at Shenning, who had suddenly appeared. His originally clear eyes were instantly filled with tears, as if he could no longer suppress them. Tears gushed out of his eyes in an instant. Shenning jumped. "Why are you crying?" The moment she said that, the person burst into tears. "Wah! Divine Immortal Sect Master." She suddenly rushed over and hugged Shenying's thigh tightly. She cried loudly. "Sect Master, you recognized me. You really recognized me." Wah! She knew it was her. She looked completely different now. She had become someone else. But she could still recognize her at a glance. Shenying's mouth twitched. She saw the look in her eyes just now. It was hard not to recognize her. "Don't cry." She lifted her leg but could not pull it away. That was why children were so troublesome. It was the same when they grew up. "Yes, it's Sect Master." She nodded vigorously, but tears continued to fall from her eyes. "It's you," Hui Ling exclaimed. A complicated expression flashed across her face. "Why are you here?" Shenning turned to look at her. Just as she was about to speak, the immortal qi around her exploded. Then there was the sound of wind breaking. Xian Han, whose hand was being held by her, conjured an ice blade and slashed at her, trying to force her to retreat. Be careful. The person hugging Shenying's thigh cried out. Her tears finally stopped. Shenying paused as the ice blade was about to land on her. She did not retreat. Instead, she raised her hand. In the next moment, blood splattered everywhere, and the bright red color splashed all over the ground. Ah! A scream filled the entire immortal palace. With a loud thud, half of Xian Han's hand fell to the ground. Shenying looked at the severed hand on the ground, then at the person in front of her. She paused. I forgot to grab your hand. She did not expect it to break. Why did she have to use so much strength to slash it? You. Who are you? Xian Han's face was pale. He took a few steps back and conjured a few hand seals to stop the pain. He stared at the person in front of him warily. He could not escape her control just now. She even caused him to lose an arm. Damn it. Stop talking nonsense. We have to fight anyway. It's easier to talk after the fight. Shenying scratched her head in frustration. Let's do it. Xian Han's expression darkened. He did not dare to be careless anymore. He activated all his immortal qi and created thousands of wind blades. He even summoned his intrinsic dermic artifact. No matter who you are, don't even think about leaving here today. For a moment, the entire room was filled with ice-cold wind blades. They were like sharp blades that sliced everything in the surroundings into pieces. The originally magnificent immortal palace was instantly turned into flying ash, revealing the sky above. Even the ground under their feet was split open by the wind blades. With a flick of his fingers, all the wind blades flew towards Shenying. At the same time, Xian Han's figure flashed, his only hand holding a pure white immortal sword. He charged towards the person in front of him. Shenying only felt a gust of wind, and the overwhelming wind blades slashed towards her. However, the moment they got close to her, they dissipated and hit her body. She didn't feel anything at all. Only the hair on the side of her face fluttered a few times. What kind of move was this? Why was he blowing air at her? Was he trying to blow her away? Straight face, looking up at the person who was charging towards her again, Shenying frowned. She took a step forward and reached out to grab the person's collar. Sorry, you have bad breath. With that said, she lowered her hand and slammed it down on the ground, only to hear a rumbling sound, only to see a crack from beneath her feet. Directly spreading downwards, the entire floating peak was instantly smashed into two halves. But she did not stop. She stepped to the side and grabbed the person who had already been smashed into the ground. She slammed him down again and again, and again. History was always shockingly similar. Shenying was in a bad mood, because it was lunchtime and Chef was gone. 2 minutes later, she flung the person in her hand away and turned to the person behind her. Hey shorty. Sect. Master. The person behind her was stunned. He was obviously stunned by her overwhelming power. She was indeed the sect master. Go and keep that lamp. She pointed to the spirit convening lamp not far away. If it's broken, Father Nyo will be angry. Yes. Shenying finally reacted. She hurriedly ran over and picked up the lamp. Just as she was about to return, someone grabbed her by the ankle. Jiao. Jiao. Xian Han did not know where he got the strength from, but he raised his bruised face. How could you do this to me? She stopped in her tracks. Something flashed across her eyes. Suddenly, she smiled warmly at the person on the ground. She was so beautiful that even the person on the ground was stunned. Xian Han. She took a deep breath, lifted her leg and aimed a kick at a certain part of him. F*CKU. Who the F*CK is your Jiao Jiao? I told you my name is Xian Tong. I've been disgusted by the two of you for more than 2 months. You still disgust me. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. She kicked him again and again. Celestial Emperor Xian Han, one of the 10 Celestial Emperors, was in so much pain that his body curled up like a shrimp. He let out a wail of pain. Shenying. Speaking of which, who taught this child? Stop. Hui Ling, who had been standing at the side, suddenly shouted. She looked at Xian Tong unhappily. He's already in such a state. Why do you have to be so overbearing? Aren't you being too vicious? Xian Tong frowned. Miss, he forced me to swap my soul first. Is he allowed to do evil? But I'm not? You're willing to swap your soul. But I'm not. But you're fine now, aren't you? Hui Ling looked at the person on the ground. She could not bear to see him like this. What's more, he's only doing this to find his wife. If you hadn't possessed his wife, he wouldn't have done this. The more she spoke, the more she felt that it made sense. Although she did not want to stay here, he had not touched her in the past few days. He even went along with her. Clearly, Celestial Emperor Xan Han was not an evil person. Miss, are you deaf? Xian Tong's frown deepened. I told you, I'm not Bai Qiao. I don't care what grudges they have between them. I don't know why I'm in her body, but this has nothing to do with me. You. Hui Ling was at a loss for words. She looked worriedly at the person on the ground, but still stood in front of Xian Tong. Forgive and forget. I won't let you touch him again. Little Xian. Xian Han looked up at Hui Ling. He was touched. I knew it. Even though you've reincarnated, you still have me in your heart. He spoke with great emotion. He looked at Hui Ling, as if she owned the whole world. But when he looked at her, his face swollen like a pig's head and his body bent like a shrimp. The scene looked comical. Xian Tong could not help but look away. It hurt her eyes. But Hui Ling did not seem to see it. She helped the person on the ground up, glaring at Xian Tong. Then she said sternly, Celestial Emperor, don't worry. My master will be here soon. He will make sure justice is served. The corner of Xian Tong's mouth twitched. She suddenly remembered something that Elder Lo Moon often said. MDZZ. Chapter 196. Little Xian, you're the only one in the world who cares about me so much. Xian Han's expression darkened. You. AI. I told you I'm not. Why do you have to? No, you must be. He tightened his grip on her hand and said seriously. As long as you come back to me, I don't care about anything, so. Xian Han, why do you have to? Before Hui Ling could finish her sentence, she was shocked. What are you doing? Suddenly, the array beneath them shone brightly, and a pitch-black crack appeared behind them. A powerful suction force immediately emerged from the crack. Xian Han's eyes were filled with madness. We will not be separated. With that said, he hugged Hui Ling and turned to enter the crack. The crack grew larger and larger, sucking in everything around it. Even Xian Tong could not keep her balance. She could only summon her immortal sword and stab it into the ground. No. Hui Ling realized that he was trying to take her away. Her expression changed and she started to resist. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Xian Han comforted her. We're just leaving this place. Little Ling. A familiar voice rang out. Chen Ge had finally arrived. He was flying towards them on his sword. He stared in shock at the crack that had suddenly appeared. What's going on? He paused and turned to look at Xian Tong. He paused. He did not know why, but his heart was pounding. Who is she? Master, save me. Hui Ling's face lit up. She wanted to go over, but Xian Han held her tightly. Celestial Emperor Xian Han, what are you trying to do? Chen Ge snapped out of his daze. Seeing that the three of them were about to be sucked into the crack, he conjured a golden rope to pull them out. I'm going to save you now. With that said, he waved his hand and the rope flew out. With a whoosh, it wrapped tightly around Xian Tong, Chen Ge, Hui Ling, Shining. In the next moment, Hui Ling's face was filled with disbelief as she fell into the crack and disappeared without a trace. Chen Ji's expression was blank. He could not even react. However, the immortal sword that Xian Tong had conjured had already collapsed. The suction force in the crack was so strong that Chen Ge had not been able to pull Xian Tong back in time before he was pulled over. Seeing that the two of them were about to fall in, Shen Ying's figure flashed, and she pulled them out, one in each hand. Everything happened too quickly. From the moment Xian Han summoned the crack, it had only been 3 breaths of time. Now the crack had closed. Sect Master. Xian Tong's heart skipped a beat. She did not know what tunnel Xian Han had opened, but she knew it was dangerous. He looked up at Shen Ying and handed her the lamp. Fortunately, the lamp was fine. Keep it. Give it to Father Nyo later. She nodded and put it away. On the other hand, Chunga stared at Xian Tong in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking about. After a while he said hesitantly, "Miss, are you all right?" Before he could finish his sentence, Xian Tong suddenly lifted her leg and kicked the area between Chun Ji's legs. Chunga was caught off guard. Although he had immortal qi to protect his body, he was still kicked so hard that his entire body bent forward. His hands covered an unspeakable part of his body. It's all your brainless disciple's fault. My sect master came personally to save us, but she sided with that disgusting scumbag. Don't let her harm others if she hasn't been taught well. Shening. Was there something wrong with this little shorty? She was so cruel. Surprisingly, Chunga was not angry. He did not ask what had happened. Instead, he looked at Xian Tong with a conflicted expression, as if he was still in a daze. Sect Master, Xian Han has already escaped. What do we do now? Xian Tong turned around, returning to her cute and obedient self. Let's go home first. Eat first. Yes, Sect Master. Xian Tong hurriedly summoned her flying sword and looked at Shening with shining eyes. She finally had a chance to fly with the sect master. She was happy. Suddenly, she felt that her wounds were no longer hurting. She jumped onto her flying sword and flew towards the exit of the heavenly palace. Shorty, who taught you that kick just now? Sect master. It was Master Qi. Roasted chicken gal. Was she that cruel? Yes, Master Qi said that all men are bad. Shening. Why did she suddenly want to light a candle? Shening bumped into Chef and Father Nyo at the entrance of the heavenly palace. Perhaps because Xian Han wanted to use the soul-swapping technique, there were not many immortals in the heavenly palace. They managed to get to the entrance unimpeded. Master! I Ching sped up. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Shening. Thank goodness he found her. Where did you go? Father Nyo glared at her angrily. He turned to look at Bai Qiao. Why did you bring her along? This is Shorty, Shening explained. Elder Lone Moon. Bai Qiao immediately explained. I am Xian Tong. I don't know why I ended up in this body, after the heavenly tribulation. Xian Tong. Lone Moon exclaimed. He thought for a moment, and guessed what was going on. His expression darkened. Let's go back first. Why is Celestial Emperor Chungu here? Chungu paused. He turned to look at Xian Tong, who was guarding him like a thief. He did not know why he had followed them. Let's go back to the sect first. I Ching reminded them. Out of habit, he helped Shening onto his flying sword. Hearing the commotion, they knew without a doubt that Master had made a move. After all, this was Yi Shui's territory. The few of them nodded and flew away from the heavens beyond heaven. Invincible sect. Lone Moon glanced at the Xian Tong in front of him. Her body had recovered, but she looked uneasy. A moment later he said, Bai Qiao. She trembled and clenched her fists. They knew. Tell me what happened. I didn't want to take over her body. Seeing that they had recognized her, Bai Qiao had no choice but to explain. That day, I used up all my dermic powers to save Xian Han. My primordial spirit was almost destroyed. In a moment of desperation, I used the soul-swapping technique. I didn't think that I would be swapped with her. When she woke up, her body was too weak. When she heard that they were going to borrow the Luohan stone, she wanted to know about Xian Han's condition. That was why she did not tell them the truth. Oh yes, Xian Han. How is he? Is he all right? Good. Of course he's good. Lone Moon laughed coldly. He's so good that he can swap souls with his predecessor. What? She paused. Lone Moon glanced at her and told her everything that Xian Tong had told him, word for word. The more he spoke, the paler Bai Qiao became. She looked like she was about to break down. A moment later, she shook her head vigorously. No, that's impossible. Xian Han would never do that to me. She had given up everything for him. How could he only care about avenging Yun Xian and not feel anything for her? It's up to you to believe it or not. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. He had no interest in this melodramatic story. Tell me, how do I swap you and Xian Tong back? Even Chu Xian and Lan Hua had not heard of the soul-swapping technique. They had heard of possession, but it involved swallowing the other person's soul. They had never heard of swapping bodies. That's impossible. Bai Qiao lay sprawled on the ground, as if she had not heard his question. She muttered, he knew. I didn't want to possess Yin Xian's body. I don't even know what happened. That's why after I ascended, I returned to my own body. He said he didn't mind. I didn't kill her on purpose. I'm sick of these love brains. How could he say that he never loved me? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She suddenly covered her face and burst into tears. But there was still a glimmer of hope in her eyes. He said that in this lifetime, he would marry no one but me. Yin Xian was only his junior sister for a few years. How could he have liked her? He only did this to me because he cultivated the heartless Tao. That's right. It's all the heartless Tao's fault. Everyone frowned as they watched Bai Qiao begin to deceive herself. Especially since she was using Xian Tong's body. Roasted Chicken Gal, who was standing at the side, clenched her fists so hard that her knuckles cracked. She could not help but step forward to punch Bai Qiao. I'm going to make things clear with him. Bai Qiao suddenly stood up. He must have liked me, not Yin Xian. Indeed not. Shening suddenly spoke. Everyone present was taken aback, and turned their heads to look at her. What did she mean? Bai Qiao's eyes lit up. She looked like she had found someone who understood her. Little animal, answer a question for me first. What? Where did you learn the soul-swapping technique? Chapter 197. Bai Qiao paused. She did not understand what Shening meant. After a while she said, This technique was created by Xan Han when he brought me to immortality. He wanted me to return to my fox body. That's why he created this technique. In other words, this technique was taught to you by him? Bai Qiao nodded. Then, as if recalling something, she continued. That's because he had to endure double the heavenly tribulations to bring me to immortality. The body that I possessed in the lower realm was badly injured and could not recover. He had no choice but to create this technique. Oh! Shening turned to look at Chef. I Ching immediately understood what she meant. His expression darkened as well. Why are you asking this? Lone Moon and the others were confused. Self-created techniques are not that simple, I Ching said. I Ching said. His sword technique was also self-created. But that was the result of years of trial and error. Even now it was constantly being improved. His sword technique was already so good, much less an immortal technique. What's more, not even the Celestial Emperor has heard of an immortal technique, like the soul-swapping technique. As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. When Xan Han ascended, he was only an earth immortal. Yet when Bai Qiao was seriously injured, he managed to create this soul-swapping technique. I Ching frowned. Unless he's a genius or... He knew about this technique from the start. Shening interrupted. Impossible. Bai Qiao's expression changed. She seemed to sense what they wanted to say. She shook her head vigorously. He created this technique for me. He said that no matter what I became, he would love me. Why would he lie to me? Let me guess. Shening ignored her. She continued. You said that after you descended to the lower realm, you possessed that Xian's body for some reason. That means that only your soul descended to the lower realm. How does a normal soul descend to the lower realm? Everyone paused. Then, they turned to look at Chen Ge. Why are you looking at me? Chen Ge looked confused, but he still answered. Naturally, I enter the 3 realms of samsara and reincarnate as a human. That was an accident. Bai Qiao's face grew paler. Even her body began to sway. What if it wasn't? Shening continued. A mortal realm cultivator accidentally discovered an immortal soul that had left its body and needed to be reborn. It just so happened that this cultivator knew the soul swap technique. Unfortunately, this soul was a woman. What was even more coincidental was that this cultivator had a beloved Tao companion who might not be able to survive the ascension. What do you think he'll do? Change souls. In an instant, everyone came to a realization, and their faces were filled with shock. Changing into a celestial body, avoiding the heavenly tribulation, and directly becoming a celestial. Even ascension was skipped, and they directly went to the celestial realm, And they were still Stygian celestials. Yes. Shenning nodded. But this soul-swapping technique is flawed. He can't guarantee a complete success. So Yin Xian died in the process of exchanging souls. Lone Moon exclaimed. Xian Han went for wool and came home shorn. He could only pretend that he didn't know about this. Holy shit. He had never seen such a thing before. The reason why he needed the spirit convening lamp was because the soul exchange technique was flawed. Shenning took a bite of her fruit and glanced at Bai Qiao and Xian Tong. I'm guessing that this flaw requires both parties to be extremely weak and their primordial spirits to succeed, right? That's why she accidentally swapped bodies with Little Tong during Little Tong's heavenly tribulation, Qi Qingyu exclaimed. At that time, Little Tong's primordial spirit was injured by the wildfire, and Bai Qiao's primordial spirit was also injured because she tried to save Xian Han. That was why the two of them successfully swapped bodies. Shenning finished her fruit in 2 bites and switched to another one. She looked at Bai Qiao, whose face was as white as a sheet. Enunciating each word, she said, Back then, you did not possess his wife's body. They had been scheming against you from the beginning. The one who was deceived for tens of thousands of years was not him, but you. Bai Qiao took a few steps back and could no longer stand steadily. She sat on the ground, as if she had lost all her life. She did not make a sound, but tears flowed down her cheeks like floodwaters. Everyone around them could not help but sigh. Perhaps Bai Qiao herself had suspected this, but she was blinded by her love for so many years that she refused to see the truth. Now that they thought about it, Xian Han's claim that he was avenging his Dao companion did not make any sense. If he really loved that person called Yin Xian as much as he said, how could he not have recognized her for thousands of years? It was all because Bai Qiao was Bai Ti's daughter that he pretended not to know. Xian Han was not heartless because of the heartless Dao. The only person he loved was himself. He had given up on Yin Xian for the sake of ascension. Now he could give up on Bai Qiao too. Lone Moon looked at the despairing person on the ground and shook his head. It looked like he would not be able to get anything out of her today. He beckoned to Xian Tong and Yu Hong. Forget it. Bring her away. Tell Celestial Emperor Bai Ti about this, and ask him to come and get her. Yes, Yu Hong responded. Then, together with Xian Tong, they helped the unconscious man up and left. Qi Qingyu and the other disciples also left. Chenggu, Xian Tong turned to look at the person following her. She frowned and said, Get lost. Oh. Chenggu turned and sat back down. Shenning, I Ching, Lone Moon. Had this child really gone astray? Even the plot had changed. Where was the female lead supposed to be in love with the male lead? Why was the situation reversed? And shouldn't Chenggu be thinking of a way to save his disciple? Why did he follow her all the way back? Well, I guess we can't just swap Xian Tong and Bai Qiao back? Lone Moon coughed and looked at Chenggu awkwardly. He could not accept the plot. If the soul-swapping technique could only be used when one's primordial spirit was damaged, they could not possibly beat the two of them up again. They could only wait for Bai Ti to come and see what the two of them would do when their parents were present. But at least we have a solution. What solution? Shenning suddenly asked. What do you mean? That lung. It's Han Xian Han. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Even if you can't remember, don't change it. Oh right. If he was the one who started the soul swapping, aren't you curious why he took the green tea away? Everyone was stunned. Then they stood up in shock. That's right. If he was the one who orchestrated the whole thing, if he was not a loving person, why did he swap Hui Ling into Bai Qiao's body? He was already a celestial emperor. What reason did he have to risk offending Bai Ti to swap Bai Qiao's soul? Master, Xian Tong said that there was a strange aura coming from the crack that Xian Han opened. I Ching suddenly recalled. Can you tell what it is? Demonic qi. Before Shenning could answer, Chenggu finally reacted. He said, the demonic qi coming from the crack. Lone Moon. I Ching. Everyone. Chapter 198. Bai Ti came very quickly. In less than 2 days, he came to claim his daughter. Unlike the previous time when he was angry, he seemed to have aged a lot. He looked at Bai Qiao with a less tender and caring gaze. He was probably hurt by the other party's actions. Just as Lone Moon expected, the two of them could not be swapped back. Bai Qiao's injuries had healed and Xian Tong's primordial spirit had recovered. The success rate of soul swapping was too low. Moreover, it could not be used to locate the target. Who knew where the soul would end up? It was the same even with the spirit convening lamp. Although the spirit convening lamp could locate the target, it could only protect one person's primordial spirit from dissipating. In other words, if the primordial spirits were to be swapped, one of them would die. It was clear that when Xian Han wanted to swap the souls of Bai Qiao and Hui Ling, he did not think of letting Bai Qiao live. That was why he forced the soul swap, even though he knew that it was not Bai Qiao in her body. Xian Tong felt a wave of fear as she thought about all this. Thank goodness the sect master recognized her. Otherwise, she was filled with gratitude and excitement. She turned and quietly stuffed half the room full of potatoes, sweet potatoes, fresh flowers and other offerings. Shening, I Ching, radish. In the end, Bai Ti decided not to swap the souls. He would leave the two of them in their current state. Bai Ti would bring the new Bai Qiao back. Her cultivation level had been destroyed, and she needed to cultivate again. She probably would not have the chance to come out and court death for 100 years. Xian Tong, who had turned from a human cultivator to a demon cultivator, was in a similar situation. Qi Qingyu would occasionally send her immortal qi to maintain her human form, but her body was not even that of a first-level demon. Surprisingly, Lone Moon did not object. He only requested that Bai Ti, Xian Tong, Bai Qiao and himself swear a heavenly Tao oath together. They would never use any means or methods to swap the two of them back. Bai Ti agreed. As soon as the oath was made, 4 bolts of lightning struck down from the sky, forming a heavenly Tao talisman on the 4 of them. Lone Moon, who had just agreed reluctantly, smiled like a businessman and turned to chase them away. Celestial Emperor Bai Ti, it's already time. Forgive me for not sending you off. This matter. Thank you for your help. You saved my son's life. Although Bai Ti had a fiery temper, he was not a fool. Although the swapping of souls was an accident, they had still saved his daughter. I will repay you handsomely in the future. After that, he brought Bai Qiao, who was still immersed in the shock, back to Bai Zhao. Lone Moon's smile grew even friendlier. Especially a few days later, when he received more than 10 storage bags full of gifts from Bai Zhao, his eyes narrowed into slits, just like Xian Tong's new form. The invincible sect onlookers who knew about it. Unscrupulous merchants. He had clearly taken advantage of the other party, but he still extorted a large sum of money from them. Xian Tong and Bai Qiao seemed to be in a similar situation. One was a mortal, and the other was a mortal fox. Bai Ti did not know, but Shening and the others knew. Xian Han had said before that Bai Qiao's cultivation level had not disappeared. It had been sealed by some unknown method. She was actually a Stygian immortal. So not only did Xian Tong gain her cultivation level for free, Lone Moon also extorted a large sum of money from her and made a good impression on her. But when the few of them examined Xian Tong's fox body, they encountered a problem, because no one could find where the seal was. Her body indeed looked like a spirit fox that had just gained sentience. It was no wonder that even Bai Ti had not discovered the abnormality in his daughter's body. They studied it for a few days, but could not find the seal. One day, Radish, who came to deliver the dandelions and take away Xian Tong's flowers, suddenly said, "Hey, the seal on this fox's claws is the same as the spirit sealing contract that Brother Lon mentioned." The spirit sealing contract? Chen Gu was the first to react. That's a technique of the demon race. Everyone was shocked. No wonder they could not find it. It was a technique of the demon race. So they immediately brought Xian Tong to the back mountain to look for a certain god of fortune who had been refining pills for several months. Indeed, he saw the problem with Xian Tong's new fox body and solved it. Lone Moon was initially worried that if Chen Gu saw that Lan Hua was an invincible sect, there would be some conflict. That was why he did not let Lan Hua out of the back mountain these few days. But reality proved that Chen Gu had not thought of this at all. He looked at Xian Tong worriedly the entire time. He was even more anxious than the others about the seal being lifted. It was as if Xian Tong was not a disciple of Invincible Sect, but his disciple. Just as Xian Han said, once the seal was lifted, Xian Tong's immortal qi surged. Her cultivation level rose at a terrifying rate. It rose all the way to the Stygian immortal level. Apart from I Ching and Lone Moon, she became the person with the highest cultivation level in Invincible Sect. 8 more tails appeared on her body. She became a 9-tailed white fox. Streaks of white lightning could be faintly seen on his body. She was of the thunder element. Lone Moon's eyes lit up. He patted Xian Tong, who had already returned to human form. He said slowly, "From today onwards, I will personally teach you swordplay. Thunder element. What a good seed for a sword cultivator. She must not let herself be led astray this time." To hell with body cultivators. Shening. I Ching. Father Niu, do you still remember that she was the female lead? Xian Tong paused. Although she was now a Stygian immortal, she still had to start practicing her sorcery. Her eyes lit up. She cupped her fists and knelt down. Thank you, Elder. Being by Elder's side meant that she could see Sect Master all the time. She was happy. Chen Gu could not help but step forward. Actually, I can hell dash. Get lost. Oh, a certain male lead retreated silently. For some reason, Xian Tong disliked this celestial emperor called Chen Gu. She had the urge to kick him the moment she saw him. Shening. I Ching. Lone Moon. It was as if he could hear the crying of the plot. Lone Moon cleared his throat and regained his composure. He told Lan Hua that Xian Han had indeed found the answer when he opened up the crack filled with demonic qi. The bite of 10,000 voids. Lan Hua exclaimed. What do you mean? Lone Moon stepped forward. Explain clearly. It's a sorcery similar to a transportation array, Lan Hua explained. Lan Hua explained. However, it's different from the teleportation array, which requires immortal stones and has a distance limit. The bite of 10,000 voids cuts through the void and can reach anywhere in an instant. You mean to say that we have no way of knowing where he went? Not necessarily. Lan Hua could not help but pass a cup of hot tea to a certain foodie who was busy eating pastries. Then he continued. The bite of 10,000 voids consumes a lot of demonic qi. The exit will also cause strange phenomena. We can check where strange phenomena have appeared in the immortal realm these few days, and we'll know. Chen Gu suddenly frowned and looked at everyone. As if thinking of something, his expression became solemn. I'm afraid things are not that simple. Chapter 199. What do you mean, Celestial Emperor? Lo Moon asked. Chen Gu fell silent for a moment before answering. Do you remember when I transformed into Ning Zi, and then was planted with a demonic seed? The few of them paused. They subconsciously looked at Xian Tong, who did not seem to notice anything. A moment later, Lo Moon replied, I remember. Does this have something to do with Xian Han? That's right. Chen Gu nodded. I only remembered it now. Before I discovered the demonic seed, I was invited by him to go to the void and subdue an ancient beast. He said that the beast was found at the eastern border of Yishui, in a land that was sealed in ice all year round. He tried everything he could to chase it into the void. To prevent it from escaping again, he invited me to subdue it. I thought that the border of Yishui was connected to Fengsong, so that the beast would not be seen by Fengsong immortals. So I agreed. Could it be that it was a demonic beast? Lo Moon was shocked. I've only just come to my senses. That strange beast's body is pitch black. Moreover, its speed was extremely fast, so fast that no one could sense its aura. I thought it was special at first, but now that I think about it, it must be because the void is a place with chaotic immortal and demonic qi. I didn't notice that it was actually demonic qi. His frown deepened. Not long after I subdued that demonic beast, I was ambushed and severely injured. That was when I discovered the demonic seed in my body. You mean, Xian Han lured you there and planted the demonic seed in you? Lo Moon asked. Chen Gu was not sure. All these years he could not find the person who ambushed him. So he thought that the demonic seed was planted by that person. But when he thought about it, The other party had used an immortal spell. How could a person without demonic chi plant a demonic seed? He was a celestial emperor. The only person who could hurt him was another celestial emperor. At first he suspected Chu Xian. After all, among the 10 celestial emperors, only Chu Xian disliked him. Thinking of this, he subconsciously glanced at Lan Hua, feeling conflicted. But seeing how calm Shening and the others looked, he decided to put it aside. I don't care if it's true or not, but to be able to open the bite of 10,000 void, even if he isn't a demon, he should be extremely familiar with the demon race. Lan Hua continued. If he had been planning this since a long time ago, it would indeed be very difficult to find him. Everyone was put in a difficult position. Xian Han was too secretive. Who would have thought that as one of the 10 Sky Kings, he would be entangled with Bai Qiao? Moreover, they didn't even know what he wanted to do. What is the Void Land? Shening suddenly asked. Exalted Goddess. That's a broken boundary in the west of the Bo Sea. Little Encyclopedia Chu Xian glared at Chen Ge and immediately explained. That's the only piece of wilderness in the Bo Sea. But it's close to the westernmost side of the immortal realm. It's said that it's connected to chaos. Therefore, there was not a single blade of grass or living things growing inside. It was a place filled with all kinds of obstacles, devils and yin qi. Normally, no one from the immortal world would go to. Holy shit! He paused mid-sentence, his eyes widening. Xian Han, that rascal, didn't really go there, did he? The few people in the hall also reacted, and their faces were full of surprise. That was really possible. Lan Hua said that opening the bite of 10,000 void would require a large amount of demonic qi, and would cause a phenomenon. In the entire immortal realm, the only place that would cause a large amount of demonic qi, and a phenomenon at the same time would be the Void Land. Yes or no? Send a message to the Emperor of the Bo Sea. Send someone to the vicinity of the Void Land and ask. Lone Moon suggested, looking at Chu Xian and Chen Ge. Chen Ge nodded, turned and walked out of the hall, conjured a seal and sent the message. Perhaps as Chu Xian said, Chen Ge was very popular among the 10 Sky Kings. In less than 2 days, he received a reply from the Emperor of the Bo Sea. Surprisingly, there was no phenomenon in the Void Land. But the other party replied with an important piece of news. The Cloud Sea, which was connected to the Bo Sea, happened to have a phenomenon in the past few days. The seawater even flowed into the nearby Yishui continent. Even the Emperor of the Cloud Sea, Yingji, was helpless. But because the Cloud Sea was filled with aquatic beasts and spirits, it usually did not interact with the immortals of the other continents. He was not sure what exactly had happened. Lone Moon was confused. Another Cloud Sea was involved. He had no choice but to give up on the idea of going to the Bo Sea. Together with Chen Ge, who finally remembered that he had a disciple to save, and Boss Lan. The 5 of them turned and headed to the Cloud Sea. They could not be at ease until they got to the bottom of the matter with Xian Han. Back in Yishui, they were the ones who ruined his plan to swap souls. They were now enemies with him. Given this person's cunning, he might be plotting something else to deal with them. Invincible Sect had already been dragged into this mess. Rather than waiting for death, they might as well take the initiative to attack. Chu Xian was guarding the sect. Nothing would go wrong. What's more, he had a feeling that things were not so simple. The few of them spent a few days flying to the Cloud Sea's territory. From afar, they could see a white waterfall falling from the sky. It looked like a ribbon hanging between heaven and earth. Water flowed endlessly into the Yunzhe continent below. It was the trio's first time here, so they subconsciously looked up at the sky above them, only to discover that the blue sky was constantly swaying with watery light. When they got closer, they could even see all kinds of spirit immortal beasts of various sizes swimming in the sky. No wonder it was called the Cloud Sea. It really was the sea that floated in the clouds. Wow! Shening could not help but exclaim at the sight before her. This water can't be Before she could finish, I Ching and Loman's expression suddenly changed. They covered her mouth from left and right. Shut up. Please let the immortal citizens of the Cloud Sea go. Master, why don't you eat something first? Shening, Lan Hua and Chen Ge, who did not know what was going on. Lone Moon glanced at the waterfall falling from the sky. That must be the so-called anomaly, right? The few of them flew over. Lan Hua looked carefully at the waterfall in the sky and shook his head. There was no demonic chi here. Lone Moon's expression darkened. Then, he turned and flew towards the entrance of the Cloud Sea. It looked like they could only look for the celestial emperor of the Cloud Sea to have a chat. The entrance was not far. After flying for about 10 minutes, they saw the heavenly gate. Surprisingly, there were no immortals guarding the heavenly gate. There was only a huge stone tablet in the middle of the gate. On it, there was a row of eye-catching words written in bright red. Celestial Emperor's Edict. Male immortals and dogs are not allowed to enter. Everyone. What did this mean? How did male immortals offend the Celestial Emperor? Why would he use such a stone to block the entrance? I almost forgot that Celestial Emperor Ingji of the Cloud Sea is a female emperor, Chen Ge suddenly said. Don't tell me she got hurt like by Qiao. From her tone, it was obvious that she hated all men in the world. Then what should we do? Lan Hua frowned. Will she tell us anything about Xi and Han? There's an array on the stone tablet. I Ching pointed in front of them. Lone Moon. Holy shit, it's the silent yang array. It can destroy all yang qi. How much does the Celestial Emperor hate men? Lan Hua. Does that mean that only women can go in? I Ching. Will the transformation technique work? Chen Ge. No. The transformation technique cannot hide the yang qi of a male immortal. Why don't we let Radish turn into a woman and go in? Anyway, he can be a man or a woman. We haven't decided yet. Pooey. I don't want to turn into a woman. Then what should we do? We can't possibly fight our way in, can we? We don't have any women here. Why don't we go in through the waterfall? Well, Shening, who had been silent for a long time, finally raised her hand. Have you all forgotten that I'm a woman too? The 5 of them. There was silence for 5 seconds. If you didn't mention it, we would have forgotten, Lone Moon said. Are you sure you look more like a woman than Radish? Shening. Son of AB *TCH. Chapter 200. Shening walked towards the stone tablet. There was a flash of light, and she passed through it without encountering any obstacles. She held a yellow voice transmission talisman in her hand, and a familiar voice sounded from it. Shening, can you hear me? Do you see the red array in front? Shening looked at the red light in front of her and nodded. Remembering that he could not see her, she replied, Yes. Go straight into the array on the left. There will be an immortal stone in the middle, Lone Moon explained in a low voice. Do you see it? I see it. Very good. That's the switch to maintain the array. Remove the immortal stone first and turn off the array. Let us in. All right. We're here to ask about the situation, not to fight. Other than the immortal stone, don't touch anything else. Yes. Remember, it must be the array on the left. Don't go to the right. The array stone is there. If you take it, it will collapse. Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a loud rumble. The stone tablet that was originally tightly blocking the heaven gate collapsed with a crash and shattered into pieces on the ground. Amidst the dust, they could faintly see a certain person holding an array stone in front of them. The 4 people in one Radish. Shening looked at the immortal stone in her hand. Is it off? Flip's table. Off your ass. The damn array was collapsing. Lone Moon was so angry that his liver was hurting. Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't destroy something? It's fine if you have no sense of direction. But you can't even *king tell left and right. Isn't this the left? It was clearly the left hand, the hand that held the bowl. You're facing us now. Of course it's the left. I'm talking about the direction you came in from. Do you understand? You're blaming me? Who are you? How dare you trespass into Cloud Sea Heavenly Palace? A shout sounded. Dozens of immortals flew over from afar, each holding an immortal weapon. They surrounded the few of them in an instant. The strange thing was they were all female immortals. The leading female immortal looked at the broken stone tablet on the ground. She frowned and glared at the few people at the door. Where did these arrogant people come from? How dare they destroy the Celestial Emperor's holy oracle stone? Capture them. With that said, she waved her hand. The surrounding immortals immediately stepped forward, ready to take action. Wait! Chun Gu immediately took 2 steps forward and released the suppressive aura of a Celestial Emperor. He said, I am Chun Gu. I have something important to discuss with Celestial Emperor Ingji. Feng Song's Emperor? The female immortal was shocked by his immortal aura and took a step back. Her expression changed as she scanned the group. The Cloud Sea has never interacted with other continents. Even the Emperor of Feng Song should not destroy our Imperial Edict Stone for no reason. This, Chun Gu glanced at Shining, who was stuffing the array stone into I Ching's hand and munching on a fruit. His mouth twitched and he had no choice but to brace himself and explain. This is a misunderstanding. We saw that there was no one guarding the heavenly gate and could not find anyone to pass the message. That was why he wanted to undo the array formation and find an immortal to report to. I didn't expect to accidentally destroy this formation. The female immortal was unmoved. She looked at them warily and said, I don't care who you are. Our emperor has ordered that all male immortals are not allowed to enter the Cloud Sea Heavenly Palace. Otherwise, they will be killed without mercy. As she spoke, she waved her hand. The immortals around them closed in once again. Just as they were about to start fighting, a male voice suddenly sounded. Exalted Immortal Zhu Yun, what happened? The next moment, someone landed beside the female immortal. It was a male immortal dressed in blue. He wore a purple gold crown on his head, and one hand was behind his back. Out of habit, his brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked exceptionally stern. His entire body was surrounded by thick immortal qi. His face in particular looked somewhat familiar. Why is this solitary young array? He looked at the rubble on the ground, and his eyes flashed with surprise. Subconsciously he raised his head and said, Isn't this Celestial Emperor Chun Gu? Why do you have the time to come? Halfway through his words, he suddenly saw something. His eyes widened, and his solemn expression disappeared in an instant. His entire body seemed to be ignited with monstrous anger, and even his voice rose several octaves. Lan Hua. Boss Lan's expression changed as well. He took a step forward and said hesitantly, Brother Yu, why are you here? You still have the cheek to come here. He was interrupted before he could finish speaking. The other party raised his hand and summoned his weapon. I'm going to kill you, you bastard. With that said, he rushed toward Lan Hua in a flash. The two of them started fighting. Everyone was left dumbfounded. What was going on? Why were the two of them fighting all of a sudden? Celestial Emperor. Lone Moon could not help but look at Chun Gu. May I know who this Celestial Emperor is? He's Celestial Emperor Lan Yu from Yunzhe, Chun Gu replied. Oh, the other 3 people, and one radish nodded in unison. So this was the younger brother who had tricked Lan Hua back then. But from the way he looked like he wanted to tear Boss Lan into pieces, it was obvious that there was more to this than met the eye. They could smell the stench of dog blood. Chef, did you bring any melon seeds? Shenning asked. Yes, master. Do you want sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, or watermelon seeds? How about all of them? Yes, master, no problem, master. Lone Moon. Chun Gu. Speaking of which, wasn't Lan Hua supposed to be their teammate? Was it really okay to watch the show like this? The 2 Lan brothers fought for a few hours. No one knew who was giving in to who. The 2 of them seemed to be attacking each other fiercely, but none of them was defeated. It seemed like the battle was going to drag on indefinitely. Even Chun Gu had to explain clearly to the female immortal who was guarding the heavenly gate just now. Shening had already finished 3 bags of melon seeds, but the 2 of them were still fighting. Lone Moon looked at the sky and nudged the person beside him. Shening, go and persuade them. Huh. Shening hesitated. Are you sure I should go? She was about to get up. Lone Moon immediately thought of the destroyed heavenly gate. The corner of his mouth twitched. He pulled Shining back. Forget it. I Ching, you go. Make them stop. Although the cheat was useful, he was afraid that it would not be able to be stopped. I Ching nodded and passed the melon seeds in his hand to Shining. In a flash he joined the battle. In an instant, a rain of swords appeared in the sky. With an overwhelming force, the swords pounced on the two brothers who were already tired from fighting. Sword Immortal! Who are you? Holy shit, I Ching! What are you doing? Why was he fighting him as well? I Ching did not answer. Instead, he changed his hand, and his sword moved even more fiercely. The sky full of swords immediately turned into a huge sword, and directly slashed towards the two of them. The two of them who had been fighting for a few hours had no way of dodging it. Just as the sword was about to slash down, the blade suddenly turned, and became the body of the sword, slapping towards the two of them. With a loud thud, the two of them were slapped down, and smashed into the crowd. It was the kind where their faces hit the ground, raising a cloud of dust. The two of them, who had been fighting for a few hours without being injured, lost their immortal chi. In an instant, their faces were scratched by the gravel on the ground. I Ching landed back on the ground and said calmly, "Alright, it's stopped. Chungu. Lone Moon. Everyone." Lone Moon frowned. This was a stop. This was a beating, wasn't it? Forget about Lan Yu. Wasn't Lan Hua their teammate? It looked like he was hit harder than the other party. This guy was doing it on purpose, right? He just wanted to beat Lan Hua, right? Chapter 201. Lan Hua. Lan Yu sat up first. Although he had no energy left, he glared at the person in front of him. "You're still the same as before, despicable and shameless. You even found a helper." "How am I despicable and shameless?" Lan Hua was also full of anger, but he was too tired to fight. The two of them could only argue. "Weren't you the one who caused me to become a demon? So what if I became a demon?" Lan Yu was even angrier. "Just based on what you did to me, you deserve to die 1,000 times over. I should not have let you off that year. What did I do?" Lan Hua glared back. "You're my only brother. I taught you how to cultivate, protected you when you ascended, and even handed the entire Yunzhe continent to you. What did I do wrong? What? You still have the cheek to ask me?" He suddenly laughed coldly and struggled to get up. He looked like he wanted to bite Lone Moon. "Don't you know what you've done? Tell me, what exactly did you do? About Wenqin, do you dare to say you didn't do it on purpose?" "Wenqin?" Lan Hua hesitated. "Who's that? You bastard." Lan Yu exploded. He rushed over, forgetting all immortal spells and sword techniques. He grabbed Lone Moon's neck. "You're still pretending? Are you even human?" The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He gave Chungu a look. The two of them stepped forward at the same time, and pulled the two of them apart. They did not forget to stretch out their long legs to kick each other. A battle between two celestial emperors had turned into a quarrel between two shrews. Even the girls who were guarding the heavenly gate were stunned. Was this really an celestial emperor? "Let go of me," Lan Hua shouted as he struggled. "I want to ask myself why I'm not human today. Let him tell me what's going on with Wenqin. What did you do that was human?" Lan Yu retorted. "You still have the cheek to ask Wenqin? She was supposed to be my Dao partner. How dare you say you don't know her?" "Dao partner?" Lan Hua was stunned. "When did you have a Dao partner? Haven't you always been alone? It's all because of you." Lan Yu was so angry that his eyes were red. "I've been with Wenqin for 3,000 years, and we've been through so much. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have abandoned me during our dual cultivation ceremony. I only want to marry you. Every day, I would guard the place where you were in seclusion to express my longing for you." This time, Lan Hua was really stunned. His face was blank. "There's such a thing?" Recalling carefully, he remembered that there was a time when he was in seclusion. It was quite noisy outside every day, so he had no choice but to set up an isolation array formation. Could it be that the person outside was that Wenqin? "I don't know about this. I don't even know Wenqin." "All right, just pretend that you didn't mean it." Lan Yu took a deep breath and asked again. "Then how do you explain Yunyu, Rushuang and Xiaozhen?" Lan Hua was even more confused. "Who? Them? You're still pretending. Yunyu is my cousin who grew up with me. Rushuang is my betrothed in the lower realm. Xiaozhen is my junior sister. How dare you say you don't remember any of them?" "I really don't remember." "Shut up. I've given you a chance, but you've ruined my marriage over and over again. It would have been fine if you treated them sincerely, But you played around with their feelings. You coaxed them to leave me, and they gave their hearts to you, but you didn't marry them. You're a scum, a scum. Oh, everyone exclaimed. They instantly understood what was going on, and vaguely felt that Lan Yu was shrouded in a verdant grassland. They all turned to look at the culprit. Why are you looking at me? Lan Hua was so angry that he stomped his feet. I didn't do it. Ever since I came to the lower realm, I've been cultivating. If I'm not in seclusion, I'm training. I've never heard of the people he mentioned. I have no impression of them at all. Not to mention abandoning them. Ever since he was young, the only thing he was passionate about was cultivation. Why would he have any feelings? He had even less contact with women. The only girls he remembered, apart from his mother, were Good Heart and the girls from Invincible Sect. He really did not know who Lan Yu was talking about. What about Shueji? Lan Yu continued to ask. Don't tell me you've forgotten about her too? Shueji, that sea rabbit demon? Lan Hua was stunned. He nodded. He remembered. Isn't that your pet? What happened to her? Lan Yu especially treasured that little demon. He brought it with him all the way to the heavenly realm. When he became a demon, that little demon was already an exalted immortal. What happened? If you hadn't told it nonsense, she would have become like that. Become like what? You know that sea rabbits have no gender. They only choose their gender when they decide on a Dao companion. If you hadn't told it nonsense. Lan Yu gritted his teeth. She would have become a man. Wow. Did it have to be so exciting? The onlookers were all stunned. There was such a development. He was the most pitiful little brother in the world. Lan Hua was also surprised. He knew that Lan Yu liked that sea hare. He became a man, how can this be? He stopped mid-sentence as he suddenly remembered something. It seemed like a few thousand years ago. There was a person who asked him with an awkward expression. Is it better to be a man or a woman? As a pure man, he naturally hesitated to choose a man. He was strong and resistant. How good would that be? Could it be that the person who asked him that question was a sea rabbit? His face instantly turned pale. Lan Yu was getting angrier. He had raised his wife for so long, but because of one sentence from him, she became a man. Every time he thought of this, he wanted to tear him to pieces. It had been like this since the lower realm. Once he fell in love with a girl. As soon as his brother came out of seclusion, the girl would immediately fall in love with someone else and dump him. Once or twice was fine, but every time, it was like this. You stole your wife time and time again. I'm already letting you off easy by just letting you become a demon. Brother you. Lan Hua was at a loss. I didn't know about this. Why would I think of her? Hey, say something for me. I really didn't do anything. He quickly looked at the four people and the radish beside him. In an instant, the four people and the radish stepped back. Even Chen Ge, who was holding on to Lan Yu, let go. They pretended not to know each other. You, hey. Isn't this betrayal too obvious? Lan Yu, who had finally recovered some of his immortal power, took 2 steps forward. What else do you have to say? Lan Hua was speechless. The four people and the radish retreated a few more steps to avoid suspicion. They stood behind Lan Lu. No, Lan Yu. Emperor Lan Yu, let's do it. I didn't see anything. I know what it feels like to be cheated. Go, don't stand on ceremony. Do you need a weapon? I have one. Do you want some melon seeds? You'll only have the energy to fight when you're full. Lan Hua. That's enough. Whose teammate was he? He was innocent. Apart from that sea rabbit demon, he hadn't spoken to anyone else. Ahua. Suddenly a woman's voice was heard. Her tone was so gentle that it penetrated into the bones. Lan Yu, who was about to attack, shuddered. Everyone. They could vaguely hear the green hat +1. Chapter 202. A strong floral fragrance wafted into his nostrils. Flower petals filled the air as a figure descended from the sky. Her hair was combed into a bun, with a gold and jade hairpin on her head. She held a peony chiffon fan in her hand, and wore a moon-white silk dress embroidered with gold. She looked very graceful. He looked over with some excitement. Ahua, is that you? Her voice was as gentle as water, as if it was filled with indescribable emotions. Even her eyes were slightly watery. I knew it. I knew you were still alive. Ahua! With that, she walked over quickly, as if trying to grab his hand. Lan Hua immediately jumped away and dodged. What are you trying to do? He had not recovered from the shock of what Lan Yu had just told him. Now that he saw a woman, his heart jumped. He subconsciously stepped to the side and hid behind Shining. The female immortal faltered, her eyes filled with hurt. Ahua! Do you still resent us for joining forces with the other celestial emperors to attack you? As she spoke, a teardrop fell. That pitiful look could move any man. But you treated me that way back then. I was so angry. Hey, don't come any closer. If you come any closer, I'll hit you. Lan Hua became even more cautious. The female immortal was even more hurt. Blue and Green, on the other hand, snorted coldly. They looked like they were already used to it. Ahua, are you really not willing to forgive me? The female immortal cried even harder. All these years, I've always believed that you were still alive. I've always been waiting for you. As long as you come back, I can pretend that the past never happened. Hey, don't spout nonsense. What past? What past do we have? The female immortal stiffened. She looked at him in disbelief. Ahua, how could you do this to me? I did not dare to betray you back then. But this was because you betrayed me first. I've regretted it for thousands of years. I've even given you the most precious thing in my life. What most precious thing? Lan Hua looked confused. The female immortal cried even harder. I've even given you my first and only time. The crowd. Oh, this is the gossip of this region. What first time? I didn't. Wait, why are you looking at me like that? He didn't do it at all. I'm warning you, don't think that just because you're a woman, I won't do it. I don't even know you. Who are you? The female immortal's body swayed, her face filled with grief. You don't even want to acknowledge me? Naturally, the onlookers looked at them as if they were looking at trash. Hoo. Believe me, I really don't know her. Hua. Don't call me that disgusting. Who the hell are you? In the past, it was clearly our first time. Shut up. Who the F***CK had their first time with you? Stop slandering me. Lan Hua was about to explode. His face was flushed red, and he shouted at the top of his lungs. I never had my first time. I'm still a virgin. A virgin. Everyone. Oh, I'm telling the truth. Thinking that they didn't believe him, Lan Hua became anxious. Believe me, I don't have a Dao companion, and my primordial yang hasn't even leaked out. I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin, all right. With that said, perhaps because he was being forced into a corner, or perhaps because of the radish's influence, he lifted the hem of his robe, looking like he was about to take off his pants to prove his innocence. His movements were too fast, and in order to make everyone believe him, he shouted every word. In an instant, the entire heavenly gate reverberated with his voice. I'm a virgin, a virgin, a virgin, the four people and the radish. Lan Yu, the female immortal. The immortals. Finally, it was Chen Ge who reacted first. He pressed down on Lan Hua's hand that was about to take off his pants and urged. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua, we believe you. We believe you, all right? Don't be rash. There's a group of female immortals standing here. Even the female immortal who had just appeared was stunned by his actions. Her mouth was agape for a long time. Cough. Well, Lone Moon also regained his composure. After all, he was the one who brought the boss here. He felt bad if he did not speak up for him. Fellow immortal, I wonder what happened between you and Lan Hua in the past. Can you explain it clearly? I don't know her. Just as he finished speaking, Lan Hua immediately added. He even glared at the female immortal. He looked like he would fight her to the death if she dared to speak nonsense again. You really don't recognize him? Lan Yu, who was standing at the side, tooted coldly. The disdain in his eyes deepened. He obviously knew who this female immortal was, but the strange thing was that when he looked at her, he did not look very happy. Instead, he looked a little stiff. Only a ghost would recognize her. Lan Yu's eyes turned even colder. He said with some satisfaction, he is Celestial Emperor Ingji of this cloud sea. Everyone was shocked. They were too engrossed in the gossip just now, Only now did they realize that this female immortal was really a celestial emperor. You should remember his other name. Lan Yu's lips curved into a smile. He said word by word, Shuiji. The 4 people in the radish. The immortals. Lan Hua. This information was a little too much. Wasn't Shuiji raised by Lan Yu? Didn't he make his sea rabbit demon a cuckold? When did he become the celestial emperor of Cloud Sea? Nonsense. Lan Hua was also in disbelief. It's not like I haven't seen that sea rabbit demon's human form before. You just said that he chose to become a male. Wait a minute. Before he finished speaking, his eyes widened as he looked at the female immortal in front of him. Come to think of it, this female immortal seemed a little too tall, and her body was a little too muscular. On her neck, there was a throat in Adam's apple. This charming, gentle and beautiful person, who even had a special effect of fresh flowers on her entrance, was a man. Lan Hua's face turned pale. His legs turned to jelly. He almost hugged the heavenly pillar beside him as he trembled. Celestial emperors are really scary. I want to go back to Invincible Sect to refine pills. After Shuiji chooses his gender, he will naturally transform again. Lan Yu looked like he was watching a show as he explained. That day he admired you. That's why he asked for your opinion. He spent so many years before he succeeded in brainwashing him into choosing to become a female. In the end, with one sentence, he changed him into a male. Yet for thousands of years, Ingji had already gotten used to the lifestyle of a female. There was no way he could change it. Ahua! Shuiji, no, Celestial Emperor Ingji was still looking at Lan Hua affectionately. We sea rabbits only have one chance to choose. This is really my first and only time. You have to believe me. So this was the first time he was talking about. Lan Hua's face darkened. He took a deep breath, braced himself and stepped forward. Sea rabbit. Shuiji. No. Celestial Emperor Ingji. I didn't make things clear to you back then. It was my fault. But I really didn't know what you meant. What's more, I've only met you less than 5 times, right? You almost killed me once. Why don't we call it even? We're all men anyway. I don't mind. But I mind. He looked like he had no regrets. Lan Hua felt an urge to vomit blood. He turned to Lone Moon and said, Where's the bag you used to put radish in? What? Put me in it too, please. If this went on, he would be disgusted to death. Lone Moon. I Ching. Shening. Chapter 203. The only female celestial emperor of the 10 celestial emperors had become a trap. The 4 of them, and 1 radish, all had strange expressions on their faces. Lan Hua was in a worse state. When he found out that the trap had other intentions for him, he almost broke down, especially after being stared at by Ingji for 4 hours. It was as if her eyes were glued to him. Lan Yu seemed very happy to see this. He looked as if he was relieved to see that she was finally getting her comeuppance. From the moment they entered the heavenly gates, Lan Hua had been holding on to Radish the entire time. He followed Shening warily, as if he would lose his integrity if he slowed down. Celestial Emperor Xine Han? The few of them explained why they were here. Ingji, who had finally recovered from her daze, paused. You're saying that he has something to do with demons? Humph. A living demon is sitting right here. There are other demons in the immortal realm. What's so strange about that? Lan Yu snorted. He glared daggers at Lan Hua. Lan Hua's mouth twitched. He did not retort. That's not why we're here. Chen Ge frowned and explained worriedly. If he could plant a demonic seed in me, he could naturally do the same to the other celestial emperors. He must have other plans. Moreover, no one knew who was behind him. Then why are you here? Ingji asked. We heard that there was a strange phenomenon in the Cloud Sea, Lone Moon explained. When Xine Han escaped, he used a spell that produced large amounts of demonic qi. It also caused a strange phenomenon. That's why we're here to investigate. As soon as he finished speaking, Ingji and Lan Yu were stunned. A strange expression flashed across their faces. Then you've come for nothing, Lan Yu replied coldly. The strange phenomenon in the Cloud Sea was not caused by demonic qi. It wasn't. You don't know. Ingji could not help but glance at Lan Hua. Lan Hua shuddered. He rubbed the goosebumps off his body, and turned to hide behind them. Ingji looked away in disappointment. The strange phenomenon in the cloud sea was caused by the cloud beasts in the sea throwing a tantrum. What? What the hell? Throwing a tantrum meant poking a hole in the sky. Did the ancestors know that the Lan family was so childish? What are cloud beasts? Lone Moon asked. The cloud beast is the embodiment of the cloud sea. Ingji explained. As everyone can see, the cloud sea is different from the other continents. It is still an ocean floating in the sky. The reason why this place was like this was because of the presence of the cloud beasts in the sea. Every million years, the sea of clouds would give birth to sentience, and that would be the cloud beasts. Cloud beasts control all living beings in the sea. Even the immortals of the cloud sea depend on them to survive. So that's how it is. Everyone nodded. But that phenomenon. There was clearly a hole in the sea. Ingji's expression froze. Even Lan Yu looked away curiously. A moment later, Ingji said, in the past, all cloud beasts born in the sea would form a contract with the Cloud Sea Celestial Emperor. He could also be considered the Celestial Thearcha's contracted beast. But, when I became the Emperor, the cloud beasts hadn't been born yet. That's why cloud beasts are still young. They're only around 5,000 years old. He sighed, as if recalling something. He shook his head and continued. In the past, cloud beasts would not easily leave the cloud sea. After all, it was originally one with the sea of clouds. Although it had a spiritual body incarnation, once it left, it wouldn't be able to escape. Once it left, more than half of the cloud sea would die. But this time, the cloud beast is still young. It's still a child. It wants to leave the cloud sea? Lone Moon asked in a low voice. So there was a naughty child here too. Not only that. Ingji's face twitched. He looked even more confused. I invited Celestial Emperor Lan Yu here because of this. But, he turned to look at Lan Yu. Indeed, Lan Yu was frowning as well, as if he really didn't know what to say. A moment later, he gritted his teeth and stood up. You guys come with me to take a look. You'll know. Everyone looked confused. But they were here for the phenomenon. Although Celestial Emperor Ingji said it had nothing to do with the demon race, it was better to take a look. So they didn't object. They stood up and followed him out. Ingji led the group towards the east. Below them was a blue sea. They could faintly see the bottom of the sea. There were lush forests and mountains. It was the Cloud Sea indeed. They reached their destination in less than 10 minutes. Lone Moon looked around. This was indeed the location of the phenomenon. But when they were below the Cloud Sea, they saw a waterfall that connected the sky. Here they were above the Cloud Sea. All they saw was a huge whirlpool in the middle of the sea. There was a golden array above it that led straight to the bottom of the sea. It seemed to be blocking something. There were some immortals guarding the surroundings. But compared to the group of female immortals at the Heavenly Gate, the ones guarding here were all male immortals. And their cultivation levels were not low. They were all exalted immortals and above. There were even young emperors and immortal emperors. All of them looked flustered. They were trying to persuade the whirlpool below them. Just as the few of them got closer, before they could hear clearly, a huge wave suddenly rose from the sea. It formed the shape of a fish's tail and slammed towards the immortals in front of them. The few of them hurriedly dodged. But before they could react, a few of them were slammed into the water. Fellow immortals, you saw it too, Ingji said helplessly. Ingji said helplessly. The cloud beast insisted on going out. It even smashed a hole in the cloud sea. That's the reason for the phenomenon. It's all thanks to Emperor Lan Yu's help. He set up this array to stop it. But these arrays won't last much longer. He could not help but look at Lan Hua. His eyes flashed. He said with some anticipation, Ah Hua, you're the most proficient in spells. I wonder if you can. I can't help you. Lan Hua immediately took a step back. The cloud sea was obviously one with the cloud beast. If he repaired this hole, it would create another hole. Why did the cloud beast insist on going out? Chen Gu could not help but ask. Spirit beasts like this should have a sense of territory. They would not move easily. Because... Ingji was just about to explain when a childish voice sounded from the bottom of the water. It traveled to everyone's ears. You ugly things, let me out. I want to go find a pretty big sister. Ingji. Lan Yu. The people from Invincible Sect froze. This voice, this tone. Suddenly, everyone's eyes fell on a certain radish. Why are you all looking at me? A certain plant on Lan Hua's shoulder looked confused. It turned to see Shun Ying looking over. Its eyes lit up. It plucked the dandelion off its head and handed it over. Little big sister, this is for you. I Ching. Lone Moon. Lan Hua. Chengge. So all your cloud beast incarnations are like this. Get lost. The radish's heart broke. Chapter 204. Ugly, it's you again. The few of them had just landed on top of the whirlpool when the voice sounded again, as if it had sensed something. Compared to the mischievous voice from before, there was real anger in it this time. In an instant, a column of water rushed towards Ingji. You liar, how dare you come over? Ingji seemed to be used to it. With a wave of his hand, a defensive array appeared and blocked the column of water. Unfortunately, it was not over. Huge waves in the shape of fish tails appeared on the surface of the sea. Wave after wave, they began to attack indiscriminately. Scram, you stupid liar. Ingji looked at the immortals who had been trying to persuade them. Now they had all fallen into the water. Ingji looked at the crowd apologetically. She had no choice but to retreat a few miles away. Only then did the waves on the sea stop. Celestial Emperor Ingji, why did the cloud beast do this? Chengge asked in a low voice. It was obvious that the attack had been aimed at Ingji. However, the cloud beast was supposed to be his contracted immortal beast, so it shouldn't have attacked him. Ingji's expression changed. He did not know how to explain. After a while he said, this is a misunderstanding. With that, he subconsciously looked in Lan Hua's direction. His eyes seemed to be filled with resentment and some grievance. Lan Hua felt goosebumps all over his body. Let me explain. Lan Yu saw that he really could not speak. With a sigh, he told him everything that had happened between the cloud beast and Ingji. The cloud sea was different from the other 3 seas and 6 continents. Because of the special environment, anyone who could become the emperor of the cloud sea not only had to be a celestial emperor, but also had to be recognized by the cloud beast. After all, the cloud beast was the cloud sea. If one wanted to live here, one had to get a property certificate. The contract with the cloud beast was equivalent to the property certificate of the sea. Only one cloud beast was born every few million years. When it matured, it would be as powerful as a celestial emperor. When Ingji first started cultivating, there were no new cloud beasts in the cloud sea. Although they did not interact with the other continents, it was not as strict as it was now. Although Ingji's original form was also of the water race, before he became a celestial emperor, he had always been by Lan Yu's side in his human form. So everyone thought that he was a celestial being. Even now, the other continents thought that the celestial emperor of the cloud sea was a human cultivator and not a demon immortal. In addition, the cloud pool and the cloud sea were very close to each other. So most of the cloud sea floated above the cloud pool continent. Aquatic creatures naturally like to stay close to water sources. So it was only natural that Ingji would often run from Yunze to Yunhai to cultivate. Over time, he became familiar with the demon immortals of the cloud sea. Later on, when he was the first to ascend to the celestial emperor realm and took over the entire cloud sea, he did not encounter any obstruction or opposition. After the cloud beast appeared, Xiaochen thought that he would have to spend some time to gain the cloud beast's recognition or fight it directly. He would either become a true sovereign emperor or be eaten by the cloud beast. Surprisingly, the cloud beast was very satisfied with him the first time they met, and it even took the initiative to form a contract with him. As a result, he became the cloud sea sovereign king. It could be said that among the 10 celestial emperors, he was the person who ascended to the position of celestial monarch the easiest. After a few thousand years, perhaps even the heavens felt that they would be letting the others down if they didn't give them some suffering. As the cloud beast grew up and became more and more intelligent, it suddenly turned hostile. You ugly liar. To think that I thought you were a beautiful lady back then. It turns out that it was all a lie. The cloud beast's childish voice could be heard from afar. How dare you lie to my pure feelings? Humph. I don't want to acknowledge you, you ugly thing. I want to leave this place and find other beautiful ladies. That's what happened, Lan Yu said in a low voice. At once, the four of them turned to look at the culprit behind them. Why are you looking at me? I wasn't the one who asked him to wear female clothes. Lan Hua blushed and exploded. The cloud beast mistook me for someone else? Lone Moon. I Ching. Shinge. Shining. So the cloud beast was so happy to form a contract with Yingji back then because it mistook him for a woman. Speaking of which, was it a common problem for incarnation-type spirit creatures to only look at one's appearance? What's more, the cloud beast actually took thousands of years to realize that Yingji was a man. Was it too slow to react? Or was Yingji too good at acting? The cloud beast is still immature. It has the temperament of a child. Celestial Emperor Yingji sighed, looking like he was having a headache. It threw a tantrum, and I couldn't do anything about it. The more we tried to stop it, the more it wanted to go out. It insisted on going out to find a young lady. Since it's just throwing a tantrum, can't we just find a female immortal to coax it? Why does it have to go out of the cloud sea? The cloud beast probably only wanted to find a pretty young lady to form a contract with. It suddenly realized that Yingji was a man, and threw a tantrum because it couldn't accept it. It could just find a real female immortal to coax it. Anyway, it was still immature. As long as it didn't go out of the cloud sea, it wouldn't cause any trouble. We tried that method. Yingji's expression darkened. But after the cloud beast threw a tantrum, its real body hid in the crystal palace in the deepest part of the cloud sea. It wanted to break through the cloud sea and escape. Usually, it would only create an avatar to come out of the water to cause trouble. To enter the crystal palace, one has to be an exalted immortal. So that was it. No wonder the cloud beast did not come out despite the waves. Its real body was at the bottom of the sea. All the exalted immortal demon immortals in the cloud sea tried to persuade it. Yingji continued. But they were all chased out. Why? Yingji's mouth twitched. It said they were ugly. Everyone. Lone Moon subconsciously looked up at Yingji's face. To be honest, if one ignored some of his masculine features, Yingji's face could really be described as stunning. What's more, Yingji's eyes were more feminine, and he was dressed in female clothes. It was no wonder that the cloud beast would despise other female immortals for being ugly. There was no one left in the cloud sea. I had no choice but to remove the restrictions on the cloud sea. I wanted to invite all the female immortals in the world to come and give it a try. Yingji frowned. The immortals of the cloud sea have never interacted with other continents in the past. It was not easy for some of them to come and give it a try. Not only were they all male immortals, but they all had ulterior motives. It was very annoying. Was that why he set up that sign at the heavenly gates? That's why this matter has not been resolved. Yingji frowned deeply. He was about to ask the few of them if they knew any female exalted immortals that they were familiar with. Shening, who had been chewing on a fruit, suddenly spoke up. Why don't I try? She was quite experienced in teaching naughty children. You. The moment she finished speaking, Lone Moon started to mock her out of habit. Forget it. Didn't Celestial Emperor Yingji say it already? The cloud beast has high standards for looks. Shening tilted her head. Am I not good-looking? Lone Moon rolled his eyes and turned to look at her face. Are you good-looking or not? Don't you have a... Before he could finish speaking, his eyes were fixed on the familiar yet strange face in front of him. His voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. This was the first time he was looking at her face in such a way. From a man's point of view, she seemed pretty. Chapter 205. She had a chubby little face and a cherry-like mouth. Her eyes, which had always been lazy and lifeless, were wide open at this moment. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised, and her snow-white skin was so smooth that it seemed as if water could be squeezed out of it. There were even 2 strands of a hoge on her forehead that were swaying back and forth. She was not as gorgeous as Qingyu, nor was she as gentle and beautiful as Yingji, but surprisingly cute. Very cute. The extremely cute kind. *degree***. Lone Moon felt a thump in his heart, as if he had been stabbed. It had nothing to do with his feelings, but he felt a sense of relief. Holy shit. Why didn't he realize that Shining was actually so good-looking? Why did he feel the urge to snatch her away and make her his daughter? *Degree***. What's wrong? Everyone looked at Shining confused. She suddenly turned around and pressed her hand against her chest, taking deep breaths. I Ching stepped forward worriedly and pulled Shining over to take a closer look at her face. Master, your face is not. His voice trailed off, and his whole body froze. His usually serious face seemed to have been painted with a layer of red paint. In an instant it turned red. He stared blankly at the face in front of him, and a loud thumping sound came from his chest, as if something was about to rush out of his body. He never knew that Master was actually so good-looking. Hey, what are you doing? Seeing the two of them suddenly stunned, the others thought that there was really something wrong with Xin Ying's face. They all stepped forward and looked at Xin Ying's face seriously. Chen Ge. Sect Master Shin, why are you Lan Hua? Good heart you're not. Holy shit. Ingji. Fellow immortals, why are you so cute, Radish? Get lost. You're not allowed to look. Little Missy is mine. Lan Yu. Sister, how old are you? Do you have a Dao partner? Do you like celestial emperors, the younger ones? Get lost. I Ching kicked a certain spare tire specialist with the surname Lan away, and pulled out his sword at the same time. Shunning. Motherf *Ker. Did they not see what she looked like except for Radish? In the center of the Sea of Clouds, in the Crystal Palace, a short figure was squatting on the golden magic array in the middle of the hall. He was holding something in his hand and poking it with force. Every time he poked the golden magic array, specks of golden light would splatter out, and the talismans on the ground would darken a little. As he smashed it, he muttered to himself, "Humph. That damned liar. Don't think that you can trap me with a stupid array. No one can stop me from finding a pretty big sister." Shening followed him and squatted down. She looked at the thing in his hand and asked subconsciously, "What's that in your hand?" "Teeth." The child didn't even think about it, and replied casually, "What tooth?" It clearly looked like a stick. "Of course it's my teeth." The child continued, "When I was 4,500 years old, I got my teeth replaced. Look, my teeth haven't even grown out yet." As he spoke, he suddenly turned around and opened one corner of his mouth. He gestured for her to look at the empty gums on the right side and said proudly, "My teeth are the hardest things in the Sea of Clouds." "Oh." Shining nodded in understanding. Something flashed in her eyes. "Since it's so powerful, why don't you bite it open directly?" The child was stunned for a moment. He seemed to think that what she said made sense. His eyes brightened, and he really lay on the ground, opened his mouth and bit at the array. In the end, he successfully knocked his teeth. "Epsilon, Omega, Omega, you lied to me." He glared at her angrily and held his teeth that were in pain. "Biting like this, it hurts," Shining said seriously. "It won't hurt if you knock it all off." You, humph. I'm angry. I'm ignoring you." The child snorted angrily and turned around to continue using the huge tooth in his hand to smash the array. He had just knocked twice when his body suddenly stiffened. As if he had just reacted, he turned to look at the person beside him in shock. Who are you?" He sat on the ground and stared at her with wide eyes. "When did you come in?" "Oh, I came in when you said you wanted to find a pretty young lady." The child's face paled. He glared at her even more angrily. "I'm warning you. Don't try to stop me from breaking the array. Otherwise, I'll eat you up." With that said, he purposely bared his white teeth. "Who said I was going to stop you from breaking the array?" She was only here to persuade him not to leave the Sea of Clouds. The child paused and glanced at her suspiciously. "Isn't that so? Then why are you here?" Just as he finished asking, he suddenly thought of something. "You were sent here by that liar, weren't you?" "Humph. I've seen all the female immortals in the Sea of Clouds. I won't like you. You also." He suddenly stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened as he stared straight at Xin Ying's face. He had never seen this young lady before. She was quite pretty. If it was her. He thought of something and his face suddenly turned red. He said awkwardly, "Ahem. If it's you, I'll be fine. Then I'll reluctantly agree to let you be my beautiful big sister." Oh, is it that simple? He was indeed obsessed with looks. Then, she was just about to persuade him. The child suddenly rushed over and grabbed her hand. "I'll eat you right now." After saying that, it suddenly opened its mouth, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth, and bit down on her wrist. Then with a crack, a tooth fell out. "It hurts, it hurts, it hurts." He covered his bleeding mouth and gasped for air. "Was little Missy so hard? Why did you bite me?" Shenning was also stunned by this naughty child's sudden action. He looked aggrieved. "It was the demon immortals who told me that if I meet a beautiful lady, I have to eat her." What the hell? Who in the world had told it such dirty words? "That's not what they mean." "I don't care." The little cloud beast was anxious. It wiped the blood from its mouth, and suddenly changed back to its original form. A huge fish that was more than 10 times bigger than the Crystal Palace appeared in front of it. It seemed to cover the sky. What a huge fish. "It's not easy to find a beautiful lady that I like." Its voice came from above, its tone full of arrogance. "Although you're a little short, a little skinny, a little fierce and not gentle. But I still want to eat you. Thank you for your whole family. And, most importantly, your chest is a little too small. I like big ones. You're too flat." The corner of Xin Ying's mouth twitched. Flat. Flatter than Yingji. She felt a buzz in her head. This sentence began to replay in her mind. Flatter than Yingji, flatter than Yingji. But since I've swallowed it, I won't be able to see it anymore. So be it if it's small. As it spoke, it suddenly opened its mouth. In an instant, the seawater around it twisted, forming a huge whirlpool in its mouth. Everything around it was sucked towards the corner of its mouth. Just as it was about to be swallowed, Shenning suddenly reached out and grabbed one of its sharp teeth. "Little cloud beast." She suddenly grinned and said word by word. "Did anyone tell you that little animals that talk nonsense will be eaten? Sure enough, children are the most annoying thing." The cloud beast paused. It felt an aura that covered the sky and the earth and rushed towards it. With a cracking sound, the tooth that was caught was instantly crushed into powder. Before it could even react, before it could even move, it felt a weight on its head. With a loud bang, the fish head landed heavily on the bottom of the sea. Its vision turned black. Suddenly, the entire sea echoed with someone's exasperated voice. "You're the King Flat Princess. Airport. Soup dumplings. Fermented rice balls." It didn't say that. So 1 minute later. "Are you still going to eat me?" Sob sob sob. "I'm not eating anymore." "You want to leave the cloud sea." "I'm not leaving. I'm never leaving." "You just said. Your chest is the biggest, especially big. So big that I can't even see your face." Chapter 206. Above the cloud sea. Will the fellow immortal inside be alright? Yingji looked worried. Lady Shen looked like an earth immortal. Although he did not know why these people were so confident that she could enter the Crystal Palace, he knew the cloud beast's character very well. He could not help but worry that something might happen to her. "Don't worry, Celestial Emperor. Shenning knows what she's doing," Lone Moon replied. After some thought he added, "Should?" What the hell should he mean? He was even more worried now. "The whirlpool on the sea has disappeared," someone suddenly exclaimed. Everyone paused and turned to look. Indeed, a few miles away, the whirlpool that was sealed by the golden array had disappeared. The surface of the sea was calm again. Even the occasional waves had stopped. The whirlpool had disappeared. The only possibility was that the hole that the cloud beast opened at the bottom of the sea had closed up. Yingji rejoiced. Indeed, an immortal came to report that the water under the cloud sea was no longer leaking. He heaved a sigh of relief. It looked like the cloud beast had been persuaded to come down. The few of them waited for a while longer. Then, they saw a translucent bubble rising from the bottom of the sea. It parted the seawater and flew towards them. Inside the bubble stood 2 figures, one tall and one short. The tall one was Shenning. The one beside her looked like a half-grown child. He must be the cloud beast. Yingji. Before they could get close, the cloud beast suddenly rushed out of the bubble. It plunged into Ingji's arms and started crying. Wah! I will never despise you again. I will never leave the cloud sea again. The young lady outside was so scary. Ingji paused. He looked at the cloud beast, who had suddenly changed its attitude. It was even more clingy than when it did not know its gender. He did not know how to react. After a while, he patted the cloud beast's little body. He sighed and said, "It's good that you've thought it through. How did you do it?" Lone Moon looked at Ingji. Without the cloud beast controlling the bubble, Ingji was back on the sword. Everyone had heard how the cloud beast had despised Ingji. Why did the two of them forget their differences in less than 5 minutes after Shening went in? Was she that eloquent? Nothing much. I was just trying to reason with him, Shening said calmly. Oh, Lone Moon nodded. Suddenly he thought of something and froze. Wait a minute. Wasn't Shen Ying's method of reasoning? Turning around to take a look, Zhang Xian's mouth twitched. What was going on with the cloud beast's swollen face? You did it, didn't you? Thank you, fellow immortals, for helping my cloud sea resolve this crisis. Ingji thanked them sincerely and looked at Shening gratefully. Thank you for your hard work, fellow immortal. If you ever need my help in the future, Ingji will not hesitate to help. It's okay. Every family has a couple of naughty kids, Shening replied casually. The child in Ingji's arms shuddered. He buried his head even deeper and did not dare to look back. Since this matter has been settled, we shall not disturb you any further. Lone Moon chuckled and stepped forward to take his leave. While Ingji had not noticed, he hurried away. Everyone, are you leaving so soon? Ingji's face was filled with reluctance. She subconsciously looked at Lan Hua, her eyes filled with longing. Lan Hua shuddered and rubbed the goosebumps off his body. He even shoved the radish in his hand back to Lone Moon. He urged, hurry, hurry. Don't we still need to find Xi and Han? With that said, he turned and flew out. Ahua! Ingji wanted to stop him, but the cloud beast was still holding her. Everyone hurried to catch up and flew out of the heavenly gate. Where are we going now? Lan Hua asked. Wuxia, the Void Land, Lone Moon replied. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua. Although the Wuxia Celestial Emperor has already investigated that place, Chengu explained. Wuxia is not far from here. We can go and take a look on the way. I know that, but... Lan Hua's mouth twitched. He turned and glared at Lan Yu. Why are you following us? What business do you have here? What does it have to do with you where I go? Lan Yu glared back at him. We'll settle our differences later. Don't think I'll let you off. With that said, he suddenly turned to look at Shening, his eyes shining. Instantly, he looked like a gentle young master. He smiled kindly and said, Miss Shun, this trip to the Void Land is very dangerous. Why don't you let Lan Yu go with you? He can protect you. Shening hesitated. Were they close? Don't worry. I'm a celestial emperor and a talisman cultivator. I have as many defensive talismans as I want. Do you need talisman papers, talisman spirits, talisman treasures, or talisman arrays? With that said, he took out a stack of talismans as thick as a dictionary from his storage bag and stuffed them into Shen Ying's hands. Everyone, speaking of which, was giving away wealth, a good tradition of the Lan family. Winky face, what are you trying to do? Before they could react, Lan Hua exploded in anger. He stood between the two of them and glared at him warily. Are you trying to get rid of me through kindness? Dream on. I'm warning you, if you have any problems, come at me. Don't even think about touching her. You're allowed to steal my people, but I'm not allowed to steal yours? Who stole your people? You're still denying it. I wasn't the one who made your girl like me. I didn't do anything. If it wasn't for you, would they have treated me like that? What has it got to do with me? Seeing that the two of them were about to quarrel again, I Ching finally could not help but summon his sword. Enunciating each word, he said, Master, who do you think I should kill first? These two little bastards who stole his master. Lone Moon. Chengge. Shening. Lan Yu's thinking was actually very simple. His brother stole his girl, so he had to get it back. All these years, apart from his mother in the mortal realm, Shening was the only person of the opposite sex who had appeared by Lan Hua's side. And she was quite pretty too. So she must be Lan Hua's girl. He had to fight for her. Lan Hua's thinking was even simpler. This troublesome brother of his had secretly caused him a lot of trouble in the past. Although the reason was very stupid, it was still understandable. As the big brother, he did not want to argue with him. But it was wrong of him to target Goodheart. The other party obviously wanted to use her to take revenge on him. Although getting rid of Goodheart was good for him. But he could not control himself. The thought of someone harboring ill intentions towards Goodheart made him want to beat the hell out of him. Degree. Miss Shun, I'm serious. Lan Yu turned around and grabbed Shen Ying's hand. He said affectionately, "Trust me, I will treat you very well. Why don't you stop going to the void and follow me back to Yunzhe?" Bastard, let go of her. Lan Hua summoned his weapon and went forward to grab her. The two of them were about to start fighting. That, Shen Ying suddenly spoke. Her expression was calm. "Lan Lu, I'm Lan Yu." What the hell was Lan Lu? Oh, let me ask you a question. Please ask, Mississippi. Is being a spare tire addictive? Lan Yu, Lan Hua, I Ching, who was about to kill Lan Lu. Everyone. Crack. They could vaguely hear something shattering. Chapter 207. Perhaps because he recalled the green grassland above him, Lan Yu finally came to his senses and completely gave up on trying to steal Lan Hua's girlfriend. When it came to snatching girls, he seemed to have never won before. Thus, holding a glass heart that had been pierced by someone, he turned around and flew towards Yunzhe without saying a word, leaving behind a dozen talismans. His dispirited look, as if he had lost his life's purpose, made everyone's hearts ache. Lone Moon suddenly understood the phrase, "Do not expose the truth." Shaking his head sympathetically, he happily took the Dharma talismans from Shen Ying's hands. "Straight face, let's go." Lone Moon turned and said. It was getting late. Fellow immortal Lone Moon. Just as he finished speaking, Chun Ji's panic-stricken voice came from behind him. "I, Celestial Emperor?" Lone Moon turned back and his eyes widened. He saw a faint glow appear around Chun Ji's body, but his figure became fainter and fainter. In a short while, his entire body turned into a shadow. This is... Lone Moon was shocked. Instinctively, he reached out to grab Chen Ge, but found that his hand had passed right through him. He immediately conjured a few spells, trying to stop Chen Ji's figure. Lan Hua and I Ching also hurried to set up an array and cast a spell. But there was no effect at all. The few of them could only watch as Chen Ge became fainter and fainter, until he disappeared before their eyes. What's going on? Everyone looked confused, shocked by this sudden change. Lone Moon released his divine perception to search for Chen Ge, but to no avail. Even his aura had disappeared, as if he had never existed. What sorcery is this? I don't know either. Lan Hua, who had the most experience, shook his head. I've never seen it before. Just as he was thinking, the communication talisman by Lone Moon's side suddenly lit up. He had left it in the sect, so that he could contact them in case of an emergency. His heart tightened. Could something have happened in the sect? He quickly took it out, and infused immortal qi into it to activate the communication talisman. Instantly, Yu Hong's anxious and panicky voice sounded from the talisman. Elder, the chicken is gone. What? Lone Moon was stunned. Reflexively he replied. If it's gone, we can buy another one. Invincible sect had many chickens. No. Yu Hong panicked and corrected herself. It's Celestial Emperor Chu Xian. He suddenly disappeared. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He looked at everyone and asked anxiously. Calm down and explain clearly what's going on. How did he disappear? I don't know what happened either. Yu Hong took a deep breath. Just now, Celestial Emperor Chu Xian was guiding the disciples in their cultivation. Siyu was exchanging blows with him, but he suddenly disappeared into thin air. Did it turn into a shadow and disappear? Elder, how did you know? It is indeed so. Lone Moon frowned as he recalled Chen Ji's behavior. In a low voice he instructed, all of you, leave the martial arts arena immediately. Gather all the disciples in the front hall, and see if anyone else is in the same situation. We'll be right back. Yes. Yu Hong replied solemnly. He frowned and turned to the rest. Chu Xian is in trouble too. Let's return to Invincible Sect first. He was just about to turn around when he realized that the three people opposite him were not moving. Instead, they were looking at him in shock. Lo Munyu? Lan Hua's eyes widened as he pointed at him. What's wrong? Lan Hua looked down and cursed. Holy shit. Just like Chun Ge, Lan Hua's entire body was glowing and turning transparent. Most importantly, he did not feel anything strange at all. Father Niu. Shening reached out to grab him but grabbed nothing. He was much faster than Chun Ge. In less than a breath's time, he had disappeared. The few of them were stunned. Master, what do we do now? I Ching's expression was solemn. Lone Moon and Chun Ge had disappeared too suddenly, and in such a strange way. Shening looked at her empty hand and clenched it. Let's go back first. I Ching and Lan Hua exchanged a look and nodded. They turned and flew in the direction of Invincible Sect. The few of them returned to Invincible Sect as fast as they could. But they realized that not only was Chu Xian gone, Shorty Xian Tong was also gone. They had also disappeared in the same way. But one day after Chu Xian had disappeared, Lan Hua and I Ching searched the entire sect, but could not find any clues. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. All the tracking spells were useless. Even the communication talisman on Lone Mun's body did not respond. They had wanted to ask Sun Shu to help find them, but they received a reply from the capital saying that Sun Shu had also disappeared. Just like Father Niu and the others, he had disappeared suddenly. Sect Master. There's a demon immortal who calls himself Little Biao at the foot of the mountain. He wants to see you. Little Biao. Lan Hua paused. What kind of stupid name was that? Let him in. Shening nodded. A moment later, Celestial Emperor Biao Ting flew up hurriedly. The moment he saw Shening, his eyes lit up. His legs gave way out of habit, and he knelt down in front of her. Exalted Goddess. Please save Little Bird. Something has happened to it. What happened to Little Bird? I don't know what happened either. His expression was anxious. Perhaps it was because he and Wu Hong had been in the same boat many years ago. They had experienced the danger of being eaten. The two of them had developed a revolutionary friendship. A few days ago, I went to the Bo Sea with him to help Exalted Goddess find some rare immortal herb seeds. Who knew that he would suddenly disappear while flying? I searched for many days, but could not find any trace of him. When he disappeared, was there a white glow on his body? I Ching asked. How did you know? Biao Ting was stunned. Another one. Who did this? Lan Hua scratched his head in frustration. This is already the fourth person. The fifth. Shening suddenly corrected him. What? Radish disappeared too. That's right, there's Brother Radish. Lan Hua nodded and became even more anxious. He was sleeping on Lone Mun's lap and disappeared with him. Wait a minute. Radish. Lan Hua's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of something. Good heart, I have a way to find him. But it's a little troublesome. I think we can only save Lone Moon alone. The others, we have to think of something else. What is it? Heart entrapment array. What is that? I Ching asked. This is a trapping array. Lan Hua explained. This array can gather demonic qi and trap people within it, causing them to be corroded by the demonic qi. And once this array is activated, no matter where the other party is, as long as they are within the boundaries of the immortal realm, it can trap them directly. You mean to set up an array here and use it to pull people back? That's right. Lan Hua nodded. But this array is special. It needs a part of the other party's body to set it up. Body Xinying's mouth twitched. She thought of the pile of dandelions that Radish had given her, and immediately understood. Radish is on Lone Mun's leg. Its aura is connected to his. So when Radish is trapped, Lone Moon will definitely be pulled into the array. Lan Hua continued. Although he will be affected by the demonic qi, Lone Moon should be able to withstand it. Alright, let's do that. Shening stood up and turned to look for the dandelions. Find Father Niu first and solve the problem of eating. Chapter 208. Lan Hua said that the back mountain was where Radish usually stayed. Its aura still lingered there, so it was a good place to set up the array. Yu Hong followed his instructions and placed Radish's dandelion in the pit that Radish used to stay in. Lan Hua sat cross-legged on the back mountain, his hands forming seals. Large amounts of black demonic qi spread across the entire back mountain in an instant. Strands of black qi converged to form a huge black array diagram. The surroundings grew darker and darker. The dandelion, that was originally overflowing with spirit qi, was showing signs of withering. Even the immortal herbs on the ground seemed to have lost their spirit under the corrosion of the demonic qi. But there was still no movement in Radish's pit. There was no sign of anyone at all. Lan Hua's forehead was covered in sweat, and the demonic qi around him was also showing signs of fading. The immortal qi here is too strong. Biaoting suddenly thought of something and said, "The demonic qi will be suppressed. Let me help him." With that said, he conjured a seal. A golden immortal flashed, and a golden meridian appeared in the immortal herbs on the back mountain, forcing Lan Hua's demonic qi away. Biaoting hurriedly conjured a rectangular jade box and opened it. He stopped conjuring, and the golden meridian turned into spots of golden light that flew into the box. "Exalted goddess, I've temporarily sealed the immortal meridian here," Biaoting explained as he handed the box to Shining. "Without the suppression of the immortal meridian, it will be easier for Celestial Emperor Lan Hua to set up the array." Shining nodded. "Thank you for your hard work." She took the box and handed it to Yu Hong, then turned to look at the radish patch on the back mountain. Indeed, after the immortal meridian was sealed, the fading demonic qi became even thicker. Even the immortal herbs on the ground withered, looking like they were about to die. The heart-entrapping array was almost complete. The array diagram on the ground was becoming more and more complete, covering the entire back mountain like a dense spider web. Radish's pit also began to emit a red light, getting brighter and brighter, showing signs of taking shape. It was almost done. At the same time, Lone Moon was sitting in the middle of an array, with a serious expression. "Radish, did you find anything?" "No." Radish retracted its long leaves and shook its head. "My leaves can't extend out either. They bounce back the moment they touch it." Lone Moon's expression darkened. He had been trapped in this array for several days. The immortal energy in his body was completely suppressed, and he could not move at all. Moreover, the array formation under his feet was very strange. He had never seen it before. It seemed to extend infinitely in all directions, but he could only see less than 2 feet in all directions. Everything else was a white fog. Therefore, he had no idea where he was trapped. Even Radish, who was lying on his leg, was restricted. Only 2 of its leaves could move. Originally, he wanted him to explore the formation, but he didn't expect that even his leaves couldn't reach out. "Little Missy will definitely come to save Radish," Radish said with certainty. "Don't worry." Lone Moon frowned. Even if he wanted to save them, he had to first know where they were. Based on the situation when he was captured previously, it would be very difficult to find any clues. Just as he was thinking about how to send a message to Shining, the array formation under his feet suddenly lit up. Even the white fog in front of him began to dissipate. He could vaguely see a figure not far from him. "Radish, hurry and hide," Lone Moon instructed. Then he looked seriously to his right. The figure beside him became clearer. In a moment, a man in a long blue robe appeared. He looked slightly familiar. "Sin Shu. Why is it him?" he blurted out. The person opposite him was also shocked. "Lone Moon, why are you here?" He was just about to explain when a familiar voice came from his left. "Lone Moon? It's young Emperor Lone Moon." He turned to look and his eyes widened. "Bird. Apui. Celestial Emperor Wu Hong, why are you here too?" "I don't know." He shook his head. "I was already here when I opened my eyes. There seems to be someone else." At his reminder, Lone Moon turned to look. There were indeed a few more figures opposite him. They were a little far away. It was only after the white fog had completely dissipated that he could see them clearly. There was no need to talk about Chengge. There were 4 other celestial emperors from different continents. Lan Yu, Ingji Jizhe, and even Chu Xian. Of the 10 celestial emperors, 6 had arrived. Like him, there was an array beneath their feet. They were trapped in different directions, forming a circle around each other. These arrays were connected to each other, forming a huge array that no one had ever seen before. Brother Lone Moon, you're here too. Chu Xian's eyes lit up when he saw Lone Moon. He began to look around. Where's Exalted Goddess? Is she here? At his reminder, even Jizha, Wu Hong and Sun Shu hurriedly turned to look for her. No. Lone Moon shook his head. I was suddenly teleported here. She couldn't stop me in time. What's more, I don't know where this place is. As he spoke, he began to look around. This is the Emperor Ascension stage, Chen Ge suddenly said, his eyes filled with shock. The few of them were shocked, and began to look around. It really is the Emperor Ascension stage, Jizhou exclaimed. But who would set up such an array here? Celestial Emperor Chu Xian, you're an expert in array formations. Can you tell what kind of array this is? Chen Ge asked. I don't know either. Chu Xian shook his head. I've never seen an array like this before. Also, this doesn't look like a simple trapping array. The person who set up this array trapping us here is probably just the first step. I don't know what he's trying to do. Who cares what he's trying to do? Wu Hong said angrily. This array has trapped me for days. Do any of you have any idea how to break it? Everyone fell silent. None of you can do anything? Wu Hong's expression darkened. What kind of damned array is this? It's so powerful. This is not an array. Just as they were thinking, a cold voice rang out from above them. The next moment, a few figures descended from the center of the Emperor Ascension stage. There were 2 men and 1 woman. At the front was an immortal with a long white beard. The immortal chi around him was thicker than anyone else's. He looked kind and righteous. He looked just like the immortal's Lone Moon had seen on television in his previous life. Celestial Emperor Zichen. The few of them exclaimed. Who? Lone Moon paused. It's the Bo Si Celestial Emperor, Celestial Emperor Zichen. Sun Shu explained in a low voice. Lone Moon understood. So it was him. He took a closer look at the people behind him. No wonder he told Chen Ge that there were no anomalies there when they wanted to go to the void. They were in cahoots. Weren't the 2 people behind him Xan Han and Hui Ling? Master. Hui Ling called out. Little Ling. Chen Ge was shocked as well. Why are you here? Hui Ling was about to walk towards Chen Ge when Xan Han pulled her back. Little Xian, have you forgotten what I told you? But. Hui Ling looked at Chen Ge, who was in front of her. She looked like she was in a difficult position, but she did not go over. Chapter 209. Everyone was a little dumbfounded. Zichen was the most inconspicuous one among all the Empyreans. He was also the first person to ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor. No one knew how long he had lived, or when he became Celestial Emperor. Unlike the Cloud Sea, who did not interact with the other continents, Zichen was even more low-key. His cultivation was not very high, and he did not seem to be someone with great aptitude. Compared to the other Celestial Emperors whose strength was on par with him, his strength was average. He did not participate in the conflicts between the continents. He had always played the role of a mediator. The impression he gave was that he was kind and had a good relationship with the other Celestial Emperors. That was why no one expected him to be the culprit. On closer inspection, they realized that his cultivation level was shocking. The immortal chi in his body was even denser than that of the other Celestial Emperors. Could he have been hiding his cultivation level all this while? It's been many years. How are you, Celestial Emperors? Zichen stroked his white beard. He looked as kind as ever, but his eyes shone brightly. He seemed to have thought of something. Oh yes, I have yet to thank Celestial Emperor Chen Ge for taking care of my daughter for so many years. Daughter? Chen Ge paused. He looked at Hui Ling in disbelief. You, Hui Ling panicked. She hurriedly explained. I just found out. The others were also shocked. They had never heard of Zichen having a daughter. When the divine artifact was born, the immortal realm was in chaos. My daughter and my disciple accidentally fell into the mortal realm. My daughter was accidentally reincarnated. Zichen looked at Hui Ling tenderly. I thought I would never be able to find her. I did not expect Celestial Emperor Chen Ge to help me find her. So Hui Ling's past life was so powerful. Also, disciple? Lone Moon caught the keyword and turned to look at Xian Han. That's right. Xian Han was my disciple. Zichen did not seem to be afraid that they would find out. He said it out loud. Everyone's expression darkened. Xian Han was his disciple. It was no wonder that ever since he ascended, his cultivation level had risen so quickly. In less than 10,000 years, he had become a celestial emperor. He was originally from the immortal realm. What do you want by bringing us here? Chu Xian asked loudly. Zichen only smiled and did not answer. Instead, Xian Han stepped forward and said, I just asked the few celestial emperors to help me with a small matter. With that said, he pointed around them. Everyone should know where this place is, right? Everyone was stunned. They did not know why he was asking this. Of course, they knew about the Emperor Ascension stage. The Emperor Ascension stage is just a name. Xian Han's usually cold face lit up with excitement. A long time ago, this was where the heavenly pillar was. It was the divine pillar that connected the immortal and divine realms. Immortal world. This time, everyone was truly shocked. There was actually such a place in the immortal world. It's a pity that the God world destroyed the heavenly pillars millions upon millions of years ago, leaving no immortals in the immortal world capable of ascending to the God world. This Emperor Ascension stage is just a seal. His expression turned cold as he glanced at everyone and said, That's why I've invited everyone here today, because I want you to help me reconnect the heavenly pillars and reopen the door to the God realm. This is a great matter that will benefit the entire celestial world. Everyone was shocked. The highest cultivation level in the celestial world was the celestial emperor. It was not that no immortal had ever wanted to become a god. It was just that no one had succeeded. If that's the case, we can discuss this properly. Why do you want to capture us? Ingji could not help but ask. Xian Han was about to answer when Sun Shu guessed his intention. He spoke first. Your goal is the divine artifact. Young Emperor Sun is indeed wise. You are indeed from the Flowing Flame clan. How did you? Sun Shu's eyes widened. How did Xian Han know his identity? Apart from Lone Moon and the others, he had not told anyone else. There were no records of the Flowing Flame clan in the immortal world. Of course I know about the Flowing Flame clan, which manufactures divine artifacts. Xian Han's expression turned even colder. He said disdainfully, If not for your clan, the immortal and divine realms would not have gone to war. Fortunately, there was a way to salvage the situation. Sun Shu's expression darkened. He was disgusted by Xian Han's words, but he did not retort. Although the crowd did not know what the Flowing Flame clan was, when they looked around, they realized that everyone here possessed a god artifact. Little Han, it's about time. Zichen suddenly reminded him. Yes, master. Xian Han nodded. He conjured a spell, and the entire Emperor Ascension stage's array lit up. Everyone felt the restraints of the array grow stronger. After Xian Han was done, he turned to look at Hui Ling. Hui Ling was still hesitant. She glanced at Chen Ge with a worried look on her face. Junior sister Xianair, you promised me, Xian Han urged. Hui Ling gritted her teeth, as if she had made up her mind. She walked to the center of the array and conjured a series of spells. Chen Ji's expression changed. He looked at her in disbelief. This spell was, before he could speak, he felt a sharp pain in his divine consciousness. The divine artifact that he had been nurturing in his divine consciousness flew out uncontrollably and landed in Hui Ling's hands. That was the spell to control the divine artifact in his body. Little Ling Yu. Chen Ge could not believe that she would use the spell he had taught her against him. Master. Hui Ling looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Her eyes were filled with conflict and grief. But surprisingly, she did not feel guilty at all. Please understand, disciple. Father said that only these divine artifacts can open the seal on the heavenly pillar. This is for the sake of the immortal realm, for the greater good. The more she spoke, the more determined she became. It was as if she was the embodiment of justice. Everyone was shocked. They looked at Chen Ge sympathetically. He was probably the first person in the immortal realm to call such an act of betraying his own master a righteous cause. Chen Ge spat out a mouthful of blood due to the backlash from forcefully taking out the god artifact. His eyes widened even further, as if he had just seen his own disciple clearly. "Master!" Huiling exclaimed. Instinctively, she wanted to go over. "Little Xian," Zichen suddenly said. Huiling stopped in her tracks, but did not go over. She continued to look at Chungu pitifully and said innocently, "Master, he's my father. I have to listen to him. You can understand little Ling, right?" Chenji's expression turned cold. He closed his eyes, as if he did not want to look at her anymore. He felt a chill in his heart. He had saved her from the demons of the lower realm, and brought her to the upper realm. He had never treated her badly. Because of what happened to her when she was young, he favored her more than any of his disciples. Even when he saw her appear here unscathed, he wondered if Xan Han had coerced her. He did not expect her to know that because of his previous reincarnation, he had been using the divine artifact to nurture his primordial spirit, and could not take it out easily. She could attack him without hesitation for the sake of a father, whom she had only known for a few days. Moreover, looking at her now, she did not seem to have regained her memories of her previous life. For some reason, he suddenly remembered what Xining had said a few days ago when they left the invincible sect. "You're not bad, but you're a little blind." He thought she was joking at the time. He really was a little blind. Chapter 210. "Little Xian, we don't have much time," Xan Han reminded her again. Only then did Huiling retract her gaze. She received the divine weapon from Chunge, and took out another one. It was the divine weapon that Biaoting had lost, the 6-flame pearl. She had no idea when it had landed in their hands. She took a few steps forward, and recited a long string of incomprehensible spells. Everyone felt a sharp pain in their divine sense. The divine weapons that had been nourished in their divine sense flew out uncontrollably one after another, stopping around Huiling. The immortal qi in their bodies backfired, and they all vomited blood. Apart from Lone Moon, who had no intention of keeping the divine artifacts in his storage bag, everyone else was seriously injured. Zichen tossed out the last divine artifact. All the divine artifacts flew into the center of the array, including the 6-joint sword. There were 11 divine artifacts in total. The array that had been restraining everyone suddenly emitted a blinding white light that enveloped the entire Emperor Ascension stage. The divine artifacts slowly disappeared into the light, as if they were melting into the array. In less than half a minute, they could no longer be seen. The next moment, a pillar of light shot up into the sky. It seemed to connect the heavens. "The heavenly pillar!" Xan Han exclaimed. He looked at the pillar of light excitedly. "One more step," Zichen reminded him. Xan Han paused. "That's right, there's still the realm gate. It's not open yet." He took out something that looked like a jade gourd, and conjured a seal in the middle of the array. Immediately, a green-robed woman appeared in the middle of the array. "Miss Xian Tong." Chen Gu was the first to react. He tried to get up in shock, but was restrained by the array. Lone Moon was shocked too. Why was this unlucky child here? She did not have a divine artifact on her. Xian Tong looked at Chen Gu blankly, then at Lone Moon. Elder Lone Moon." She stood up, and was about to go over when Xan Han used his immortal qi to form a chain, and pulled her back. Xan Han. Before Lone Moon could speak, Chen Gu was already panicking. "What are you doing? Let go of Miss Xian Tong." Xan Han ignored him. Instead, he conjured a seal and pointed at Xian Tong's forehead. Xian Tong felt a large amount of immortal qi surging towards her primordial spirit. In the next moment, she couldn't take it anymore. With a flash, she transformed back into a snow-white fox with 9 long tails behind her. Rumor has it that the 9-tailed white fox is a descendant of the god race, and has an ancient bloodline. A smile flashed across Xan Han's face. He placed Xian Tong in the middle of the array, and scanned the crowd. "Although you're not willing to sacrifice yourself, with the Celestial Emperor's cultivation, you can open the Divine Realm's realm gate." As he spoke, he waved his hand and instantly created a dozen wind blades that hit Xian Tong's fox body, creating several wounds that were so deep that bones could be seen. A large amount of blood gushed out. Xian Tong curled up into a ball from the pain, but she was unable to resist. She could only watch as her blood dyed the ground. At the same time, the entire Emperor Ascension stage turned red. Before everyone could react, they felt their bodies become heavy. The immortal energy in their bodies seemed to be drawn by something, flowing into the formation below them. This array can devour cultivation. Chu Xian was shocked. He tried to activate the immortal energy in his body to resist, but was suppressed by the array. He could not move at all. It was the same for the others. In less than a moment, the faces of those who were already seriously injured became even paler. If this went on, their cultivation would be sucked dry by the array, and they would die. Lo Moon was also anxious. Damn it, why wasn't Shining here yet? She's so unreliable at this critical moment. Just as he was thinking, Radish, who was on his leg, suddenly spoke. Ugly, I feel like someone is pulling me. Lo Moon diverted his attention to look. Indeed, there was a faint black chi surrounding Radish. Even his primordial spirit was becoming unstable. This is demonic chi? At the invincible sect. Boss, what's wrong? Shening looked at Lan Hua, who was frowning. Lo Moon seems to be restrained by something. The heart entrapment array might not be able to pull him over. And it seems like he's not the only one there. It must be Little Bird and the others. Biaoting said anxiously. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua, try again. Lan Hua's frown deepened. I can feel that their auras are very chaotic. They must have encountered some danger. But I'm not sure what is restraining them. If we pull them over by force, I can't guarantee that the others will succeed except for Radish. Didn't you say they were in danger? We can't care so much now. Biaoting urged. Save as many as you can. Kindness. Lan Hua looked at Shining. Shining and Chef exchanged a look and nodded. Pull. Lan Hua mobilized his demonic chi and activated the heart entrapping array once again. This time, he used all of his power and used all of his demonic chi to control the array. He followed Radish's aura. Following that, the strong restraining force came over. It was like a tug of war, trapping the people on the other side. Lan Hua took a deep breath and activated the array. The entire back mountain was covered in black chi. The green immortal herbs on the ground withered in an instant. The restraining force was getting stronger. Lan Hua gritted his teeth and changed his hand seal, pulling the people over by force. In the next moment, a red light flashed in the pit where Radish was. With a thud, something fell from the sky, instantly filling up the pit below. Then with a splat, another figure appeared beside the pit. Success! Everyone was overjoyed. They rushed over. Radish, eh? Wait, there are two radishes. Next to the radish, a carrot that was a size bigger than the radish suddenly grew out. Chef. Yes. Radish, when did it get pregnant? Shining. The leaves on Radish's head shook. A familiar voice sounded. You finally showed up. Shining. I Ching. Lan Hua. The others. Who? Are you blind? I'm Lo Moon. Holy shit. Before Lo Moon could finish, he glanced at himself and suddenly let out a deafening cry. What's going on? How did I become a radish? Where's my body? Shining asked tentatively. Father. Nyo. What the hell did you do? Lo Moon was going crazy. Everyone subconsciously took a step back. Wait. This is Invincible Sect. How did I get here? Everyone turned to look at a certain someone in the array. Lan Hua. Damn. What has this got to do with me? How did he know that it was only a primordial spirit? But that was not all. In the next moment, there was a series of thuds, one by one. Radishes emerged from the ground like bamboo shoots after the rain. Red, white, purple, green, all sorts of colors. They even formed a circle in a very orderly manner. This is... How did we get here? Weren't we at the Emperor Ascension stage just now? What is this place? Why is there so much demonic chi? Is this another one of Xi and Han's schemes? This place looks familiar. Exalted Goddess, why are you here too? I'm a chicken. Exalted Goddess, I'm a bird. Everyone. Chef. Master. I just remembered that I haven't had dinner. Why don't we go back first? Yes, Master. No problem, Master. Lone Moon jumped out of the pit in anger. You two get the hell back here. Chapter 211. Because Lone Moon and the others' bodies were trapped, and because Lan Hua forcefully activated the array, the two sides were pulling on each other. Therefore, apart from Radish, Lan Hua's primordial spirit was also pulled over. He also attached himself to the immortal plant at the back of the mountain. That was why he became Radish. Coincidentally, the array that bound Lone Moon also bound the others. Their auras were connected. Therefore, it was very obvious that there would be a lot of them. Buy 2 get 7 free. He had pulled all the people in the formation over. Sect Master Shen, we still need to save one more person, Chen Ge said anxiously. Xiantong. Xiantong is still there. Lo Moon turned his head and counted. Indeed, Xiantong was not among the radishes. Is he not in the same formation as you? Lan Hua asked. She's in the heart of the array. She's not being suppressed like us. Chen Ge answered. Besides, Xi and Han used her as a sacrifice. She's in danger. Her aura isn't connected to yours, so she can't come over. Lan Hua frowned. Besides, her situation is special. It's not her own body. Unless I find something related to her soul or essence soul, and reactivate the array, there's nothing I can do. Chen Ji's entire carrot turned white. I Ching and Shenning exchanged a look. Their souls were related. Yes. What? Hence, each of them kicked Chen Gu into the radish pit. Boss Lan, activate the formation. Thus a minute later, there was another radish spirit in the ground. 5 minutes later, Radish, who finally understood their own situation, was in a complicated mood. Although they had escaped from the Emperor Ascension stage, they were still in the same boat. However, it was only their primordial spirits that came over. Their bodies were still there. This proved that the formation was still working. The few of them became even more worried. However, they were still part of the Celestial Emperor Legion, so they immediately started discussing how to deal with the situation. Although our primordial spirits are here, our bodies are still trapped in that array. We have to hurry to the Emperor Ascension stage. But that formation is really strange. It can even absorb cultivation bases. Can we really break through it? Zichen had planned this a long time ago. He must have been planning to use us to open the realm gate, since the birth of the divine weapon 1,000 years ago. I think he was the one who arranged for his daughter and Xan Han to descend to the lower realm. How could there be such a coincidence that she fell into the same realm as Bai Ti's daughter? That's right. He probably had his eyes on Bai Qiao's nine-tailed fox fairy and wanted to trick her into volunteering for the array. But what should we do now? Even if we head over now, we'll probably be unable to do anything to Zi Chun and his master with our current bodies. There is no need to worry about our combat power. The main thing is that we were sent here by the heart entrapping array. The Emperor Ascension stage is thousands of kilometers away from here. We won't be able to get there in time. Also, Loman's tone darkened. He turned and shouted at the person beside him. Shening, can you King stop pouring water over my head? Huh? The person holding the kettle behind him was stunned. He tilted his head. Didn't you say you wanted to drink water? It's Radish that says it wants to drink water. I'm Lo Moon. Lo Moon's entire radish exploded. Look carefully at radish before you water it, alright? Any more water and you can make kimchi. Oh, you should have said so earlier. Shening scratched her head. Sai, who asked you to look the same? How are they the same? Even the colors are different, okay? Also, isn't this King your fault? Otherwise, why would they become radishes? I was looking for you. Father Nyo, don't mind the details. Details my ass. How are these King details? They're not even human anymore. It's all my fault. Shening hurriedly retracted her hand. She turned the kettle obediently and poured the water over the radish beside her. Air. Exalted goddess, I'm little bird. Shening. Then changed to another one. Exalted goddess, I'm chicken. The next one. Exalted goddess, I'm Jizha. Shening. I Ching. Lan Hua. All the radishes. Radish. Little missy, I'm radish. Radish, shut up. Lone Moon felt a headache coming on. Why was it still making a fuss about drinking water at a time like this? Pooey. Radish glared at him and used its leaves to take the kettle from Shen Ying's hands. Cough that. Chunga coughed softly and changed the topic. Young Emperor Lone Moon is right. Invincible sect is a long way from the Emperor Ascension stage. By the time we get there, Zichen's array would have been completed. By that time, they would not be able to stop the other party. We can go straight to the heavens beyond heaven first. There's a transportation array at the third heavenly gate that leads straight to the Emperor Ascension stage. That would be much faster, Jija suggested. No, we won't make it in time. It'll take at least 2 days to get to the heavens beyond heaven. Chunga shook his head. Then what do we do? Chu Xian was getting anxious. The longer our primordial spirits leave our bodies, the harder it will be for us to return to our bodies. What's more, the array on the Emperor Ascension stage will absorb our cultivation. When that happens, he did not finish his sentence, but all the radishes people understood what he meant. Even if they returned by then, who knew how much their cultivation would be reduced? For a moment, everyone was silent. I have an idea. Lan Hua, who was watering the radishes, suddenly spoke up. He scanned the crowd and said mockingly, "It's just that. It depends on whether you believe me or not." The bite of 10,000 voids. Lone Moon's whole radish jumped out of the hole, his face full of excitement. That's right. How could he have forgotten about this spell? Didn't Xan Han use this spell to escape? Lan Hua was a demon. Naturally, he knew it too. That's right. Lan Hua nodded. He scanned the radishes on the ground again and deliberately raised his voice. This array can send people straight to the Emperor Ascension stage. But I can send you there. Just treat it as payment for your food. I won't send anyone else. Why? Humph. Lan Hua snorted. When these celestial emperors attacked me, they all wanted to kill me. Why should I help them? What's more, this is a transportation array of my demon race. Even if I dared to send you there, would they dare to enter? His words were full of sarcasm. The radish's expressions changed. Lan Hua hated the celestial emperors of the 10 directions. Of the 7 people present, all of them had attacked him before. They just did not expect the tables to turn. The situation became awkward. Apart from the green radish, Lan Yu, who was still rolling his eyes. You asked for it back then. Lan Chunga started to speak. But Shening suddenly pushed Lan Hua. Stop wasting time. Set up the array. All right. Lan Hua raised his hand and conjured a seal. Lone Moon, I Ching. The celestial emperors. Didn't they say they wouldn't send anyone? Lan Hua, son of AB****. He set up the array very quickly. The demonic chi gathered by the heart-entrapping array had not dissipated yet. In less than a moment, black chi appeared in his hand. He waved it in the air. The air in front of him twisted. A tear appeared in the air. Huge amounts of demonic chi flowed out of it. All right. Lan Hua turned and glared at the radishes, his face full of reluctance. Yu Hong, look after the disciples in the sect. Also, send a message to Celestial Emperor Bai Ti, especially about Xan Han, using his daughter's previous body as a sacrifice for the array. Yes, Celestial Emperor Biao Ting. Please look after the primordial spirits of the other Celestial Emperors. All right, no problem. Biao Ting nodded. Lan Hua, look after Xian Tong. Got it. Shening, I Ching, let's go. I Ching summoned his immortal sword. Together with Shening, he picked up Father Niu from the pit and was the first to fly into the tear. The radishes had no choice but to follow him. When they passed by Lan Hua, they couldn't help but turn around and nod at him. Thank you, Emperor Lan Hua. I didn't expect you to help us despite our past enmity. When this matter is over, I will definitely pay you a visit and apologize. Lan Hua's mouth twitched. Who would want to help you? If not for my kindness, hurry, this array won't last long. Seeing that the ground was full of radishes that did not know each other, and that seemed to want to say something, Lone Moon impatiently urged them. He kicked the last green radish that was moving slowly into the array. He picked up Xian Tong from the ground and entered the array. Lan Lu. He really should have killed him back then. Degree. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.